I'm in Atlanta because I'm doing actually doing a consult today, and it's windy in Atlanta. And the place that I was going to do this live stream from, the internet went out 4 times today. So I am coming to you from the meeting room in the Holiday Inn Express in Villa Rica, Georgia. And thanks to Becca and my wife, Sasha, for helping me through what's been a little bit hectic. But here we are, and my book release is in the morning, and could not be happier about that. And just, so the book, we're not selling, we're winning. The whole passion behind the book for those that's watching is, if I was going to wrap it up in just a couple of sentences, it's that when I started doing this like 30 years ago, I would say that if you walked into an optometric practice or a practice where there was ODs, that there would be 70 to 75% chance that the optometrist owned that practice. I would say today that number is closer to 40%. And I think that when you don't own your own practice, it's just a little less about the patient than also just advocating for optometry when it's just more about the bottom line. And I just think that we're much better off if we own our own practices. It's just a belief I have. And the whole point of this book is to teach optometrists and maybe even other healthcare providers to be able to grow a successful practice and then maintain ownership of it, so we have control of how we see patients and how we run our business, and then pass it to future doctors who also know how to run their practice and run a successful business. In optometry school, medical school, dental school, whatever school we all go to, we are taught how to be excellent clinicians, and we have absolutely no training in business whatsoever. So we have to learn on the fly, basically. So anyway, I got lucky in a way. For strange reasons, I actually got a business degree at Union University in Jackson, Tennessee. And so I got some business training while I was in undergraduate school, and I'm just trying to pass that on to fellow optometrists. So it's a blessing to be here, and thank everybody again. And what I wanted to do in the beginning, and if everybody who knows me, I'm a little scattered. So when when the internet went out where I was supposed to do this, I left my notes there. So here's kind of the cool thing about tonight is whatever you hear me say, it's going to come from the heart or whatever memory I've got of the notes I made. So, speaking of coming from the heart, I wanted to spend the first 5 to 7 minutes before we play the first. So the format basically is going to be, I'm live. So I'm here live right now. But just to prevent, matter of fact, it would have been a disaster if I'd have tried this tonight. There's a lot of people that I either owe my success to. There's a lot of people in our profession that can teach as well or more than I can. I really wanted to make tonight and tomorrow night educational and entertaining. And yeah, I'm going to mention my book a little and my coaching company a little, but I really want tonight and tomorrow night to be worthwhile for everybody to watch, that you learn a lot. I've got a lot of great people on here, but before I do that, I want to thank some people that for one reason or another, and it's in my book at the end, my memoriam book, that I can't thank, at least in person. I think that they're listening to me anyway, but they're listening from above. So the first person I would want to thank, there's 2 people in this picture. I actually brought these photos from my house, or pardon me, my office. Annette Burney and Jeff Foster are in that picture. Annette's at the top. So I want to talk about Annette first. I'll never forget the first time I met Annette. I go into the Dandridge office, and I shake her hand, say, I'm Dr. Kurt Steele, and she kind of sizes me up, and she says, what did she say? Oh, she said, what year were you born? And I said, 1969. And she said, I don't know if I'm going to like you or not, because that's the year I graduated high school. And that was the first words Annette Burney ever said to me. And Annette is a huge reason I stayed in Newport, because she became my East Tennessee mama. And her husband, Don, is just a mentor and a father figure to me. And Julie and Trey are like brother and sister to me. Julie's my East Tennessee sister. And Annette even helped with our wedding. Don got this old car started for Sasha and I when nobody else could get it started. And, without Annette was the backbone of the early days of that practice. And she really carried the show for quite a while. One of her favorite sayings was, suck it up, no whining today. She didn't allow whining. If there was any drama in the office, she stopped it. And she stopped it in Annette Burney fashion. And I just owe her a lot, and I always will. And I don't know if Julie or Don or Trey is watching tonight, but I think the world of your family, and your mom was just fantastic and couldn't have done it without her. Dr. Jeff Foster in that picture. He's going to be mentioned a lot throughout this because if there was a Mount Rushmore of Tennessee optometry, Jeff Foster would be on it. He'd be the first one on it. And now my junior partner, who I'm going to talk to, who's going to interview, is going to play later tonight. She's got a future where it looks like she may be on it one day. We'll talk about that later. But Jeff, being Jeff Foster's partner is why I'm sitting here in a Holiday Inn in Villa Rica, Georgia, doing a live stream event about a book I'm writing, because Jeff and I were, my wife says it in her interview, we were a perfect match for each other. We fed off each other. We trusted each other. We loved each other as brothers. And that's why we have such a successful practice. There'll be more about him throughout the live stream. This is my mom and my brother. My mom, if anything, taught me how to be a friend. And my mom, I actually often heard growing up, like, I'm sure she's proud of me for writing this book, and I'm sure she's proud for other things, but she's always told me I'm most proud of you when you're a good friend. And so that's what my mom taught me. And I've always tried to be a good friend to everybody and be a genuine person and be an honest person and be a truthful person. And I've heard people say that those are some traits I have. I certainly have some bad ones, but those are some I have that I think are pretty good. And that's the Judy in me. And that's my mom. And that's what she taught me. And if I have those traits, that's where I got them from. My younger brother in that picture, I lost my dad, my brother, and practice partner all within about 9 months of each other. That was a rough year. Jason, if anybody out there that's got siblings that you're really close to, there is not a relationship like it. What I love to say about Jason is, like tonight, I've got to be Dr. Kurt Steele, and I've got to be on my game a little bit. And when you're with patients or you're speaking or whatever, or you always feel like, well, there's certain things you say, don't say. And, you got to be on your game. With your brother or sister, if you're really close to them, you can be whoever you want to be, and it doesn't matter. There's no judgment. It's just nothing but love for each other. And, Jason taught me loyalty. We were just really loyal to each other, and we loved each other, and I miss him every day. So, and then finally, one last photo here. And we're going to talk about him some probably too. My dad. He died from ALS, and that's a horrible disease. My dad taught me that you can't improve I could sit here all night and talk about Steve-isms. You can't improve what you don't measure. He who speaks last loses. There's all sorts of things in there. Nothing wrong with awkward silence. A hug is often better than a handshake. I mean, I could just keep going on, but my dad is where I get my business acumen, whatever business acumen I've got. I got it from my dad. And so I miss those three guys every day. Jeff, my practice partner, like a brother. There's a picture in my book of the three of us going to Green Bay. Jeff was an honorary Steele. He was one of us, whether he wanted to be or not. And those three guys, they were my three guys. And so I miss them every day. And also Annette, same thing. Without Annette, I'd have never gotten off the ground. So, Don and Julie and Trey, or, whoever might be watching tonight, I want to make sure that, and Annette's in the book. All four of those people are in the book. And that's why I feel like they should be mentioned. Unfortunately, I can't talk to them in person, but I want to let them know that without them, I wouldn't even be close to where I'm at. So, and I took a big chance today. So today I'm actually in Mike Rothschild's previous practice, which is kind of an honor of itself. And Dr. Erica Kurt, yes, Kurt, that was pretty easy to remember, Khert. I took a risk. I did some training today. And then right after we got done, we went in her office and recorded this interview. So this is me without any survey or post-survey or post-meeting, whatever. This is her assessment of 4 hours of consulting with Kurt Steele today. And so, Becca, would you mind playing the live stream for Dr. Kurt, please? Dr. Kurt Steele here. So I just left you from the Holiday Inn in Villa Rica because I had to get the meeting room. So with Dr. Erica Kurt, easy name for me to remember, even though it's a little different spelling. So Dr. Khert. And I've been with her office today, and I got to say, actually, I'm really impressed. Dr. Kurt's amazing. They had a very busy morning. I got to watch them see patients, and they were actually fantastic. So, it wasn't really a transformation, more of a tweaking. She's got a great team. Sine and Farah and Maylee and Dr. Kurt, they're a great foursome. And so, here we go. First day, I have no idea how Dr. Kurt feels right now. It's kind of intense. So, Dr. Kurt, what do you think so far?
I feel like it went really well. I feel the staff was very receptive. I feel like I was very receptive to all of the input and suggestions that we could improve on.
Okay. Anything surprise you?
That most of the time the docs are the problem.
I'm a doc too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to expand on this a little more. So, and by the way, so this is my, I think, 14th. Well, but I've been here before, so this is my follow-up. So, one of the things I try to differentiate myself is I actually do a follow-up visit. This is the second location, but I came to the Lithia Springs location the first time, and I did work with your team there, so it wasn't like I didn't know them. But the doctor will call and say, here's what I think we should do, and then you crunch the numbers, and that's not necessarily the case. So I want you to kind of expand on, was that a surprise when I shared that with you? Like the metrics.
Yes, it was, because what I thought we needed to work on was something totally opposite. Because I thought what was the problem, actually the numbers showed was not a problem, and what we needed to work on, that was a problem I was not aware of.
Okay. So, one of the things I'm sort of proud of is that I'm not cookie cutter. Like you'll notice I have nothing pre-made.
Yes.
I come in with my flip chart and my markers.
Yes.
And sticky notes and sticky dots. And there's a way we brainstorm that is anonymous, and everybody gets equal input, and we figure out what the team thinks is the problem first. So day one today, we kind of worked on what the team thought we should work on, and it gets you on their side. And then tomorrow we're going to work on what we thought we should work on. And actually, that even changed. So there's always an agenda that we never follow. So, but Dr. Kurt was very easy to work with. Anything else you can think of to say, or any other? Anything that surprised you? What were you expecting, and then what maybe happened that you didn't expect, and just anything else you can think of?
Kind of like what we were talking about. I was more expecting us to work on verbiage on how to improve the capture rate. I thought we were going to more work on like cookie cutter consulting. This was very much geared more towards what you saw with my team, and it was more unique towards how to actually help them. It was almost like, okay, smaller practices, this is what we can improve on. It wasn't, okay, we're going to make this smaller practice do what a 60-person staff does. We're very different than that, so it was more unique towards our practice, and it was very nice and very helpful.
I'm glad you said that, because usually, too, especially when I go to a new practice, like the first 2 hours, they're looking at me like, well, when are we going to get started? But I'm really trying to figure out,
yes,
what the team needs, because, I like to bring this up, and maybe you can expand on this, too, a little bit, too, because it's kind of what you talked about earlier is, so when I wrote the book, and this is actually the first thing that's going to go on, so this is just barely past introduction. I had 30 different optometrists that I had in a cohort study group. It was 5 groups of 6. And I asked them, what is your biggest pain point? Like, what's your biggest issue? And 27 out of 30 said staff, like my team. I just can't find a motivated team. They don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, 90% of the world can't be bad. That just doesn't make any sense. That 90% of people are not motivated. So then I asked, so when I go to an on-site intensive or an on-site transformation, I always like to ask the team, what are some of your issues? And it's usually, I wish I could be heard. I wish I knew more. Like, I wish I would get trained more. And I wish and I actually have some really good ideas. And I spend a lot more time with the patients in a lot of cases than the doctor. And I wish they would listen to me.
And what we actually found out today is that I think that they really were receptive to seeing the numbers.
Yeah.
Like that was huge. Like I could see that it was almost like they learned some information. Like, oh, they're not just guessing at this. There's a reason that they talk about frames, and there's a reason that we get paid this much, and there's a I actually have found, and you heard him say it. What do you think the doctor makes? And one of them said 60%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of doctors are scared to share numbers with them because they think that they're going to get mad at what we make, and it's usually the opposite. They usually think you make more than what you actually make.
Absolutely.
But you have a very professional, nice team.
Yes.
And I think that involving them in that and involving your teams in that, like now they, when they understand that we're just not throwing darts at a dartboard.
Yeah.
The decisions we make on pay and the decisions we make on buying things, there is a budget and there's certain percentages that we got to follow to keep the business, productive and healthy. So I don't know if you want to, what was your response when I started showing them the actual percent? I didn't just put up your salary.
Yeah.
But I did show, like, this is what the budget looks like in an optometry office. How did you feel about it, and how did you take it that they felt about it?
I feel like I had more of a clarity moment because I have always wanted to portray to staff. Yes, I mean, we would love to give raises to everyone every year if we could.
Would, absolutely.
But I never knew how to actually describe it to them and how to say, well, the numbers aren't making sense, so how are we going to do it if X, Y, and Z is this percentage and we can't afford you at this rate? But the way you wrote it out and then allowed them to understand, okay, a business is run exactly like this, you can't really argue logic. So when staff looks at that and they say, okay, well, 1 plus 1 equals 2, then yeah, if we're not hitting the numbers here, then yeah, we can't have a raise. Or if I felt burnt out here, then we could either use this extra money, hire someone else, or I could get a raise. Mm-hmm. So I can it's my decision if I'm the staff. It's my decision rather than, okay, I don't understand, let me just keep.
And I keep calling it an office transformation, but it's amazing how oftentimes when you, number one, you show them the numbers, number two, you come up with the plan, which is not rocket science. In optometry, there's 2 ways to improve your revenue, and that's you see more people or people buy more. I mean, there's no third magic button. That's one of those 2. Yeah, it turns out today that if you just add 2 exams a day, things are good. Like it's not I call it a transformation, but really it's a tweak. But it's amazing how a little tweak can make a transformation. Because in your practice, you were talking about capture rate and all this, but actually your revenue per patient was above average.
Yeah.
But you were seeing less patients than you thought you were, or I don't know if that was the case, but it turned out to be completely different.
Yeah.
But I'm very, 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 very confident, and I'm very optimistic where we're going to go with this practice. Like I see this, because your team gets it, your team understands it. We brainstormed with them, came up with ideas together, and I see this practice growing 20-30% pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
So, anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay. Dr. Erica Kurt, and this was spur of the moment, and I appreciate you doing this, and you have a good evening. You guys have to maybe watch me for the next 3.5 hours, but we're also going to have mainly my team and Coach Phil Fulmer coming up, so it's going to be a good evening. So, thank you, Dr. Kurt.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe I am back now. And first of all, thanks to Becca Faison. She's doing an amazing job. She took care of this live stream for me. I really didn't do anything, and she has set it up beautifully. And then my wife, Stacia, I've got books in the truck. I've got bookmarks. I've got all sorts of things and shirts, and she did it all. My wife actually was doing like 4 different jobs this week. She's doing this new sales training for her bank. And babe, I love you. Thank you. Couldn't have done this without you. And Becca, thanks for all your hard work. Becca Faison is my chief marketing officer, and she's doing. And so, speaking of that, just to follow up on what we just heard from Dr. Kurt is this, and because I keep hearing my culture is bad, and I'm going to go ahead and share something I'll probably share again, but probably the dumbest thing I ever said. I'm going to get it out of the way early. The dumbest thing I ever said in practice was, I had an optical manager at one time come to me and she said, we do this thing called Fun Friday. And you guys are going to hear about Fun Friday several times through this because it's something that we just really believe in our office, both in Newport and in Greenville. She said, we missed a Fun Friday, so morale's a little down. And my response was, well, there's like 15 of you guys and there's 2 doctors. So really, the morale's more about you than us. That is the dumbest thing I think I've ever said in private practice, or it's pretty close. I'm sure there's more, but that's to me the top of the list because, Dr. Kurt said it. One of the things I asked her was, I couldn't hear because it's muted a little bit, but I said, what's a big thing you learned today? She said, it's actually us. The doctor is the culture. And your office manager is the culture. The doctor owner and the office manager set the tone. So, 2 things about that. One, if you're having a culture issue, you've got to look at your leadership style first and what you're doing, because the person, the guy or lady that owns the practice, you're the top dog when it comes to culture. And then also your office manager is a very, very, very close second. And so if your office manager is making things a little bit negative, then you've got issues there too. So speaking of that, and by the way, book does release tomorrow. I'm assuming, listen, it's already on pre-order, so go ahead. If you want to get the book, it's on Amazon. Amazon would be best because I'm trying to get Amazon bestseller, but you can also go to Barnes and Noble, and you can also go to Walmart. There is a audio book. There's an audio book on Amazon as well. So if you're more into listening to books, which I kind of that way, there's an audio book as well. Another thing I would want to mention too, so we're talking about my coaching services, drkurtsteele.com. I have a website, and and what I've tried to do is I have all sorts of different levels of service depending on where you're at in your practice. I have online kind of study groups. I host a couple of retreats a year in Houston. I do on-site transformations. And really, if you're just looking for some of the basics, I even have started a circle community, and it's pretty much ready to go at this point, where we have weekly quick win videos and have a couple of Q&As a month that are live. And there's what I call the practice systems library there, which pretty much all the spreadsheets and spreadsheets and checklists and everything you need to run an office. And the hope of all this is I want to be able to give optometrists the blueprint, both in information and also systems, to be able to run their practice or hand it to somebody to run their practice. And then you just see patients. If you're an optometrist, I may write an article on this. I think another big waste of time are admin days, and that's not going to be a popular statement. But you shouldn't need an admin day. You should have a business that runs so well you don't have to take a day off to run it. It should be running itself. And one of the ways it runs itself is you put great people in place. And that is a good segue into the next pre-recorded interview. 26 years ago, I had a patient named Amy Perryman, and this was back when we had 2 or 3 employees. We didn't have many, and we were a small practice. And so the doctor did everything. I did frame selection. I did contact lens insertion and removal. I ordered contacts. I ordered glasses. We did everything. So Amy's contacts, this was back in the day of Sunsoft toric. Her prescription's like, +7, -5 axis, the symbol for uridium or something. I don't know. She had one of those crazy prescriptions. And I kept messing up her order, and she never got mad. So after several months, I just liked her. And I said, Amy, if you worked here, you could just order your own dang contacts. And she's been with me 26 years. Good pearl here. Some of the best hires I have ever made were not out of need. They were out of want. It was always fun to go to Jeff and say, I hired this person today. And he's like, I didn't know we were hiring. I'm like, yeah, I know, but good people make you successful. If there's somewhere you go and you go there because that person's there, you go there because they're there, hire them. They find a place. Tennessee State Bank's a very smart bank. They hired my wife much the same way. They didn't even know what they were going to do with her. They just knew how talented she was and how good she was, so they hired her. Some of my best hires have been just because I wanted them in my office. Hired Patty at the Waffle House, read about her in my book, and I made her the director of Smiles. I'll never forget telling Annette, who was our office manager at the time. She said, "What are you going to do with Patty?" I said, "I don't know, make her the director of Smiles." And it was worth it. She was part of the second most grossing Waffle House in East Tennessee, and it was because of Patty, and because Patty was just one of the most special people you'll ever meet. Um, so speaking of that, and your culture is the people you hire, but more importantly, the quarterback. And we're going to actually talk to Coach Fulmer later a little bit about that. But your leader has to be the most positive influence in the office outside the doctor. And if your office manager is not that person, you need to take a look at that as well. So let's see. I'm going to say 6 years ago, because I think Molly's been with us 11. 6 years ago, Molly came to me and said, "Dr. Steele, I'd like to talk to you." And it was not in the tone of, "And I love you." It was in the tone of, yeah. I mean, so anyway, she had an issue with me, and she asked me about it, but I don't know how to explain it to you. It was so professional. I mean, I'm looking at this basically college graduate who is handling herself in the most just mature, professional, pleasant fashion in a rather difficult conversation. And I had a response for her that maybe wasn't the response she wanted to hear, but it was the response that I felt. And we talked about that, and she said, "You know what? I see your point, and I kind of agree with you." We came to an agreement. And I just remember sitting there going, "I've got this young lady that's going to get a master's in counseling. She can do everything in the office. She's amazingly talented. I mean, so talented." I actually looked up, what does a counselor make in Tennessee under the table at the Waffle House? And I thought, I'll pay for that to keep Molly. I'll pay more than that. So we made Molly our office manager that day. I took a part-time college worker and took her from a part-time college worker to you're running the show. And so, and to say a lot about the two people you're about to listen to Molly, which after writing this book and doing some study groups, I wish I had $100 for every time an optometrist asked me, quote, "How do I find a Molly?" And by the way, and it'll probably come up later, but those 27 doctors, when they told me, that, staff's their biggest issue, I texted my team and said, all these other doctors are having such issues with their teams. And in Newport and Greenville, Tennessee, both our teams are our strength. They are the backbone of our practice. They are our strength. And I asked, why is that? Half of them, the word Molly was in their text message. And to give Amy credit, because Amy's been with me 26 years, and Amy's the senior member, and she could, she was not just the wonderful person she is. That could have upset her a little. The first person that came to me and said, "Are you hiring Molly as the office manager? That's going to be the best move you've ever made," was Amy. And that says a lot about the character of Amy, and that says a lot of just what type of person Amy is. So with that, without a great team and a great manager and people that will run through a wall for you for 26 years, and by the way, Amy, if you're listening, I would do the same for you. And Molly, who just is an amazing leader and quarterback for our team. We couldn't do it without them. They deserve all the credit in the world. And so with that, Becca, let's please play the Amy and Molly video.
Everybody, Dr. Kurt Steele here again. So just came to you from Villa Rica, Georgia, where we discussed team building with Dr. Kurt in Villa Rica, Georgia. And really, the one of the big keys to building a great team is simply picking great people. And I could not do this live stream without the two people sitting behind me. So I always get dyslexia is bad. It's okay. This is my right, but your left. Amy Perryman, almost 26 years ago, they will tell you that I have a little trouble with detail. And I kept messing up her contact lens order. Of course, it's not my fault. She's like +8 -6 axis boron or 43 or something or whatever her prescription is. And I kept messing up her order, and then they get back ordered. And then, I mean, we're closer to her next eye exam than her last eye exam. We're still fitting her. And she never got upset, and she never got mad. And I think I jokingly just one day said, you know, if you worked here, you could just order your own contacts.
Yes, and I said, really?
And so I was like, you know what? Let's just so you know that's actually one thing I'll just go ahead and bring up now is we've hired a few people around here that all turned out really good, and when I hired them, we weren't even hiring. We'll talk about him later, but I remember several times going to Jeff and having to say, you know, I hired Amy today. And he's like, I know we were hiring. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, she's nice though, and they'll bring it. You know, good people make you money, by the way. So you know, sometimes, you know, that's a nice pearl I've always had is hire out of want and not need. When you need somebody, sometimes you just hire the first person that can breathe and string a sentence together. And that's not the best way to hire sometimes. You hire somebody because you want to hire them. So I wanted to hire Amy because I just knew she was going to do a lot for this practice. And she's a big reason that I was able to write this book. She's been there every step of the way. And then Molly, there's Molly there. And so I wanted to make her office manager, and nobody had any idea. And the story behind that is 11 years ago, she came to me one day and said, Dr. Steele, I'd like to talk to you about something. And it was not in the tone of, I love you. It was completely different. And Molly, if you know Molly, Molly is so, it's actually hard to tell with Molly. She is so level headed and so just the same consistent, wonderful person every day. And we go to Waffle House and she brings up what was bothering her. But she brings it up in just such a professional manner, and it was not negative. It was just very. These are the facts, and I feel like I'm owed an explanation for this, and I gave her one, and you basically agreed with me and said, you know what, I didn't think of it that way, and I thought my current office manager I couldn't have this discussion with, and anyway, at that point Molly was about to leave us, and because she has a master's in counseling, and this was January or February, and in May, you know, as far as we knew, that was going to be the end of it. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I do not want to lose this person. And what a great background for office manager. And so I literally called Dr. Eisenhower driving from that breakfast and said, I know this is going to come completely out of left field, but I want to make Molly office manager. And sometimes when you run a big practice like this, you have to make those tough decisions where, you know, we did have a current office manager at the time, but I just knew in my heart that Molly was the right choice and that losing Molly was not going to be good for this practice. And so Emily and I made that decision. It's one of the best decisions we ever made. So Amy Perryman, Molly Wilson, thank you guys for being here. And so, you know, I guess the first question I'd like to ask, and Amy can maybe answer this first because she and I are the only two in this practice that have been through two moves.
Two moves.
We've built two buildings since we've been doing this. Is, you know, what did this practice look like when you first walked in? What's some of your memories of the old place?
We had about six, maybe 5, 6 employees, and just you and Dr. Foster, and it was just so small. 2 exam rooms, 1 exam room each.
Right.
I remember the first time I broke a pair of glasses. I about died right there, lost it right there. But it happens. They were fixed, and it was okay. But it's just grown so much. I never in a million years would have dreamed 26 years ago that here we would be in this amazing big building we have up here. But
Is there any moment in time? This might be a hard question, but where can you pick a particular moment of something we did that spurred this growth, or made the practice grow exponentially?
you brought on more doctors. I know we had to build a bigger building. Dr. Foster always said, no, we're not going to do that. But then Dr. Steele kept, yeah. And we had just outgrown that building. We had grew so much, and
So you actually bring up a great point there that we were not afraid to add doctors and add space.
no. And then when you added doctors, we didn't have the room, and so Dr. Foster said, okay.
So yeah, well, actually, believe it or not, though, Dr. Foster was finally the one to look at me and say, you know, I think you're right. Like, and it came out of nowhere. We were not talking about the new building. We were going to try to remodel the old one. And when and we were looking at it, we were going to have to miss practice and this, and Jeff went, "Oh gosh, let's just build a new building." So Molly, same thing. What did the practice look like when you first walked in, and then what maybe changes have we made, because we've certainly grown a lot since you've been here.
So, like Amy said, I did start out in the old building, so I got to move into this new building with you all. We got to add, of course, Dr. Eisenhower to this building as well. Added staff members, and then we've also brought a lot of things in house, like our billing and things like that, allowing us to grow. I think so that's really helped us.
So, and I don't know if how much this influenced your decision, but one of the things I talked with them about is how we do the bonus system,
Yes.
and we determine pay. And I don't know how much that influenced you. That you came to me because we were paying almost $100,000 a year for just billing, and you came to me and said, "Hey, we can bring that in house," and that goes into our kitty. So Molly, you're basically, the book. I like football. Matter of fact, the cover of the book's partly orange, Tennessee orange. And you're what I call kind of our quarterback. So, what kind of decisions do you make that that maybe most office managers don't get to make? Because I put a lot. I personally, and you get to make those decisions because I put a lot of trust in you. So.
And I'm very thankful for that. I think you let me make any kind of staffing decision. You've kind of given hiring over to me, which I'm very thankful for. And like you said, I can kind of hire when we're not really hiring a few times lately. That has worked out. And then I've also had to make some hard decisions to let people go that maybe not have been the best fit. But you've allowed me to do that without really talking to you a lot about it first.
And actually, I'm going to brag on Molly some too, as far as this might be where the counseling thing comes in. Is Amy, 2 or 3, actually, it's probably been 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I never forget. I came to Amy and I said, "Boy, there's no more drama around here." And Amy went, "Oh, there's drama. You just were smart enough to put Molly as office manager. You just don't hear about it anymore."
Yes.
You can focus on your job, and that's what I want for the doctors.
Yes.
People to focus on their job.
That is a great point. And that's the point of the book too, which I need to give you guys a copy of the book. Is you can take the book, which is full of the procedures and processes we use in this office, and you can get talented staff like Amy and Molly, and you can just see patients. I mean, I show up here, I just mainly see patients. I can't name a frame rep. I don't know where we get our paper from. I need toner for my printer. All I know to do is go to Molly and say, "Hey, I need toner for my printer." I don't even know who's going to do that. But if you're an optometrist and you're not in the exam room, you're losing money. That is where the revenue of a practice comes from. So if you're a doctor and you're having to do other things than see patients, then you're losing income. And the way you get that is you get great people and you teach them, and then you don't really teach them as much as give them guidelines and just say, here's where we need to be, and then you let their talent take over. So
it also makes your staff a little happier.
It does.
When you're seeing patients.
Yes.
It does.
What does that mean?
For all practices.
when we can't see you, we're really happy.
No.
So Amy, you've been here 26 years.
Yes.
And I'm sure that you've had chances to go somewhere else, or there's no way you can be somewhere 26 years without going home a night or two and going, I'm about ready to quit.
Everybody has a point. I mean,
Yes.
there's something that's going to get to anybody, no matter where you work. You think the grass is greener. You come home one day really aggravated over something. But I just have always, in my mind, since the day I started, I appreciate the fact that I was a single mother raising 2 sons, and I appreciated the fact that family was always first. Like I could take care of my kids, I could do, and so whatever little thing that made me mad that day, there's always going to be something. If I go somewhere else, something's going to make me mad there too. And I just felt like when I got this job 26 years ago, I was supposed to be here forever. Told Dr. Foster he's going to have to run me off, and I guess I stuck to that because here I am, and I still love what I do every day, and that makes a big deal too, big difference.
I want to get into that just a little bit more. But what is probably the one thing that has kept you here 26 years? Like, what's the key ingredient? Because you don't see people stay somewhere 26 years anymore.
I do really enjoy what I do. I have not, I still, every day when I come in here, I enjoy what I get to do every day, and there's a lot of people that do not have that in their job. They hate going to work That right there, really, honest to God, I still enjoy what I do every day.
Okay, good. Then, go ahead.
I'm gonna add to what Amy said.
Yes.
Because the same is true for me, just for being here 11 years, which isn't quite as long as Amy, but
No, but
everybody that has ever left, even before I became in management positions,
true.
they always ask to come back. So when I was thinking about, do I really stay and take this job, or do I go on to do what I went to school for, I thought, they're not going to give me this chance again. I've watched all these people walk out the door, and then they call, hey, can I come back? You really work, but this was a good place to work.
It is.
And so I didn't want to lose this opportunity.
Oh gosh, there's 2 or 3 good questions I want to ask here. I'm going to ask one first because I think this is good. Is you got a master's in counseling, which actually I would say you use that every day, running me and the doctors and team and keeping us all together. And Molly taught me happy words. That's actually something that I have stolen from her. Is I try to learn how to use happy words. When I made that offer to you to become our quarterback, become our office manager, what was your first thought? And then, what made you go, you know what? Even though I've got this master's in counseling, um, I think I'll do that. So I'd love to just hear what your thoughts on that.
At first, I think I was pretty shocked that you were going to take a chance on a student. I was like, oh, does he really know what he's doing? I don't know about this, but I'm very, very thankful. And I think that you've encouraged me, and maybe you saw things in me at first that I didn't even see myself, and have kind of helped me grow. So that is very encouraging, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, you've given me a lot of, um, I don't want to call it power, but you've given me the responsibilities and kind of let things go and let me do things in a happy word way that's made everybody happy.
I'd call it power.
She's very, very good at her job. He did awesome when he had that idea.
And I can use like you said, I use my counseling degree every day in this different way.
And I'm gonna ask you a question to remind me because I'm gonna ask you something. There's a lot of great points coming up here that are in the book. So we have people leave, which, by the way, so when I wrote the book, I did these thing called cohort group studies, and I had 30 doctors in 5 groups of 6, and they helped me with my book. And I sent them a survey before, and one of the questions I asked them was, what is the biggest pain point in your practice? What is the biggest concern you have in your practice? And take a guess at what 27 out of 30 said. Staff. And that was when I sent you all those text messages because I really thought we don't have that problem. I'm not saying we don't have little one-off issues here and there, but as a whole, this really seems like a very joyful place to work. So, the questions are 2 or 3-fold, and you can chime in too because you've been here 26 years and seen everybody come and go. Why do people leave here? That might help them. Why are your people leaving? Why are we having a hard time finding a good team? Then why do you think they all want to come back? That's interesting that Molly said that everybody that's probably left here in the last 5 or 6 years since we got rid of the evening hours and decided to put team first, that anybody that has quit is called to come back. So what did they think was better on the other side? And then why did they decide, okay, I made a mistake, I need to go back to Vision Source and move forward?
I think we haven't really had a lot of turnover since we got rid of the evening hours. I think that was a huge thing. People left because of the evening hours. And even still, after that, they still were like, we'll still come back and work because the environment was so much better than wherever they went.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say? Like, why do you think? Because sometimes they don't even tell the managers thing, and you'll hear, why do people leave, and then why do you think they wanted to come back?
I mean, they might think they're going to make just a little bit more money or something like that at a different job, but they may get there and meet Susie Q that they didn't, expect to run upon, and they wish to God they were in this happy environment back again because it really is a happy place. It's a good place to work. It really is.
It's nice to know that the doctors truly care about us.
Yeah, it is.
So I always tell doctors that, and I've admitted this in lectures, and y'all can maybe talk about this one, not just me, but Dr. Eisenhower, Dr. Norris, as well as the optical manager before Stephanie. Well, that's just Tracy. She came to me once, and it was because we missed a fun Friday. She says morale's kind of down, and my response to her was, well, there's 15 of y'all and 2 of us, so really y'all have more control over the morale than we do. And I've often said, and I said it in the book, that's the dumbest thing I ever said, because really the doctors are the culture. Like when you walk in that back door, if you're the business owner and you're the doctor, and your culture's not good, you've got to look in the mirror at yourself first and the way you're running your team and what you're allowing to go on and all that stuff. So we got a great culture here. Maybe talk about, how important it is for the doctors to set that tone.
Absolutely. I think it's the most important that you all set that tone. If you're not happy to be here, then we're not going to be happy to be
That's
here.
exactly right.
If you don't want to see patients, then we're not going to want to see the patients. I think every doctor we have here, truly, you love your job, so
Yes,
then it
Yeah.
trickles down to us. Like, we love our job because of
Yes.
that.
So that's a great thing to bring up, and I learned that from Dr. Jeff Foster. Jeff would be home off and call me and go, "Do y'all have any emergencies? Can I come in?" Like, I'm like, "It's your office. You can work whenever you want to." So, what was it like losing Jeff, and what impact did he have?
He had
On
a
the practice.
tremendous impact on this office. People still come in. It's been 5 years. Um, that's where I created, not Dr. Steele and Dr. Eisenhower too, but Dr. Foster just, he just commanded. I mean, it had to be, and that's how putting your patients first, taking care of those patients no matter what. Um, and that's just how I am. I try to live. That picture's right behind me up there at the front desk, and I try to live my life in here and do my job every day as he would want me to. I know that if I'm making him proud, then I'm doing okay. It was a tremendous effect on everybody though. Great man.
Well, anything to add as far as?
I think that was everything.
So, Jeff was, he was, I mean, if there was a Mount Rushmore of Tennessee
Yes.
optometry, he'd be on it.
Yes.
Matter of fact, he'd probably be the first on it.
Yes.
And then I followed in his footsteps. Then we got, Dr. Eisenhower we're going to talk to later.
Yes.
We're actually about to pass probably a scope bill where we can, that Glazier, we can start using.
That's awesome.
And Emily's in charge. She's ran the whole show.
I told her this morning.
She's
Dr.
in Nashville
Foster,
right now.
big
And
proud of
Dr.
you.
Foster's looking down on her and she's really happy. And
Very
Amy, I got to brag on you here too, because, and then Molly, you'll appreciate this. When I made Molly office manager, Amy's been here 15 years longer. The first person that came to me to say, "Did you make Molly office manager?" Yeah, and I honestly, when you came to me, I thought Amy may not like this because she's been here longer, and you quote, you can write quotes on this. That'll be the best decision you ever made.
And it has been. It has.
I mean, but I want to brag on you before you answer. This is important to me because to have somebody work here 26 years and just have the attitude of this is what's best for this practice. It wasn't about Amy, not even for half a second.
No.
It wasn't about you for even and I love you for that. And you've been that way for 26 years. You have no idea how impressive that was for you to come to me because you made me feel better.
I knew.
That was a great move.
Yes.
Making Molly office manager. You were the first person to come to me, and I didn't come to you. You came to me with that. I don't even know how to put this question. What makes you like that? What makes you so wonderful in that way, and that you care about this place, and you've been here 26 years, and enough that you basically allow somebody that's been here 15 years less. I make her office manager, and you had the just absolute most wonderful, great attitude about it.
I knew that was the best. I mean, I just knew in my heart with her counseling. I mean, I knew that because you do have a lot of things happen with staff. And we can act crazy sometimes. You got to have somebody to keep that level. And I knew in my heart that she was the perfect person for that. And we have went through a few office managers, but Molly by far, there's absolutely no drama in here whatsoever. I mean, it's just a good place to work, and no extra. I kind of forgot the question.
She's not giving herself enough credit.
Oh yeah, once again, we've asked Amy what makes her so great. She's deflected it right over. So Molly, let me ask you then. So what makes Amy that way? Since she's not going to tell us herself.
She really puts this practice before she puts herself. Anything I ask her to do, whether it's she's over all the contacts, and there's been so many times that the systems have changed and it's different computer systems and it's different portals. And she never complained. She's never like, we just did this one, Molly. Why are we trying to change it again? She's always just like, well, I'll learn it. Okay.
No,
we're going to do it.
Slow. It takes me a minute, but once I get it, I'm okay.
She truly does want the best for the practice.
I do. I really do. Let's give it to Ruby and Ralph. That's what we'll give.
Okay.
That's why I'm the way I am.
So let's make sure Ruby and Ralph see this. That's her mother and
will.
father, and they are wonderful people, and they've been almost kind of a part of this for 26 years as well, and as well as Daniel and Talos. And kind of fun. I'll tell you how long I've been around Amy. I had a dream one night, and you weren't in it. It's just me and Daniel at Disneyland.
No.
We never did go, but I streamed that I took her child to Disneyland. It was just the two of us.
Yes.
So
Daniel was 5 when I started working here, and he's now 30. So that tells how old we are.
okay, so this will probably be the last question. Other than that, then I'll just wrap it up. Is 27 out of 30, and I'm just telling you that when I travel this country and I go in offices, I mean I go in some offices, you can feel it.
Yes.
I mean, you can feel the tension. You can feel the culture is just not where it needs to be. And like I said, 27 out of 30, 90%. That's if I'm doing my math right, that's pretty much 9 out of 10 practices. Staff is the number one issue, and we truly don't have that issue. What do the doctors need to hear from you? What can they do to make their practice as joyful as this one is to work in?
I think one of the biggest things that the doctors and the management team try to do is you would never ask me to do, and I would never ask Amy or any of our other staff to do something that we wouldn't do ourselves. Like there's been plenty of times that I've seen you with a vacuum cleaner, or that I've been taking patients back, and we're all on the same page. We all help each other because it's for the patient. It's not about us.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's a huge deal.
And you got to be cross-trained to do that.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got to know how to. You can't have the well, that's not my job attitude.
Right. Gotta be willing to do anything.
And we have that culture here that everybody helps everybody.
And my suggestion would be find yourself a Molly.
Well, you know what? I've literally had 3 or 4 questions from that cohort group. Where do I find a Molly?
You need a Molly.
You need a Molly. So, well, anyway, I've literally got to write a book, and you two are a huge reason I got to write that book because I would not be near as successful as I could be without both you guys, and I love you guys. And Amy, you're like a sister
I love
to
you.
me.
You're like a brother. That's what I was going to
26
say.
years.
Me and him, we just cut up like this is my brother from another mother, and that's just how it is. And I love him to death, and I'm very proud of you for doing this.
Thank you.
I'm happy for you for doing.
And I had to put you in the book. You're in the acknowledgments as well, and Molly, you are too. And I appreciate both of you. And hopefully you learned something here. But I can't. I've got to give God credit for blessing me, and then also just a simple fact. I just got lucky and hired great people, and that's over half the battle. I hired Amy when we weren't hiring, and I made Molly office manager. It was a snap decision. Sometimes if you go somewhere and there's somebody that's really talented somewhere and people go there because they're there, which is like an Amy, hire them. And if your manager is not the positive influence in your office that they need to be, you're
Well, hello again, and want to talk about that just a little bit more. So, first of all, and I was told that maybe I need to speak into the microphone, so I tried to. I'm just going to quit hiding it so everybody can hear me. As far as Molly goes, so she mentioned one thing about bringing the billing and coding in house. And I'm actually on my consult trip right now, and there's a doctor that I'm trying to convince, like, to let go of some things. And Molly brought billing and coding into our house because we were spending almost 6 figures just billing and coding insurance, and Molly knows that. And giving her budgets, and like we have a system of rewards in our office where certain expenses are held a certain way that the team's rewarded. And I can't help but think that encouraged her a little bit to say, "Hey, Dr. Steele, we can do this." And so, being a book writer and entrepreneur, I've got to go to some really cool meetings lately. And in some meetings, like you sit in a room of 10 to 12 entrepreneurs and they hit you with some really hard questions. And this one particular guy one night looked at me and said, "You've got a really not a very good business." And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, actually, you've got a great job, but a business runs itself, or you have great people running it. So anyway, Becca, go ahead. You know what I'm talking about. Do it. Um, so, he said that you've got a job, but a business runs itself. And I'm going to expand on that just a little bit when I introduce Gloria Kaufman here in a few minutes. So, um, by the way, Amy, if you're watching, she talked about how she just loves her job and she's happy at it. One of the great secrets is just hiring great people. Amy would be happy anywhere. Um, after I lost those 3 guys I talked about at the beginning, one of the first things I did was if anybody was spreading any negativity in our office, I really lost my, I don't know what I'm looking for here, but I could not put up with negativity anymore. And Molly kinda knows that. So, by the way, if you're trying to join, we're just now finding out that the studio we're in is only allowing 15 people. So, Becca is working on that right now to upgrade where we can get a lot more people in here than 15 people. So, anyway, just to let y'all know that. And maybe if anybody can put that on Facebook for me and post it. So, we didn't know that was gonna happen. So, anyway, we got a limit here, and so we're gonna fix that within the next minute or 2. Um, Amy would be happy anywhere she goes. Amy's gonna bring sunshine wherever she goes. Yeah, she loves working for us, but if she didn't love working for us, she'd love working somewhere else, and that's the kind of people you look forward to hire. Ollie said something very crucial in there, and it's something that's helped my life. It's helped my life at work. It's helped my life at home. She said, "You've learned how to let things go." And Molly had to work on me for quite a while to do that, and I have. I've learned how to let things go and let my talented team take it over. Um, I have a business now. I don't have a job. I have a business, and I get to do what I enjoy, which is taking care of patients, and I let my successful team run the show. And the stuff that's in this book is the things that I've taught my teams on how to run it. It is the blueprint to build that practice. I actually want to get rid of admin days. This is my new thing. I think admin days are overrated because I think a lot of us spend a lot of our admin days not really adminning. It's really a day off. It's just an excuse for a day off. But if you're an eye doctor and you're not seeing patients, you're being inefficient with your time. That is where the magic happens, in the exam room. If you're not in the exam room, you're spinning your wheels, and that's just my opinion. Everybody needs an Amy. Everybody needs a Molly. And speaking of having a business, everybody needs a Gloria Kaufman. 6 years ago, and I'm finding myself telling stories, and then they're in the video, so I'm gonna try to stop doing that. But we bought a Greenville practice, and I'm gonna let the story be told with Gloria, and then between Gloria and Dr. Graham Taylor, we're gonna have Coach Phil Fulmer. I try to put him kind of in the prime time slot since he's a little bit of a celebrity. But Gloria's aunt, who's like her mom, Dr. Nancy Norton, and you're going to see in the video, we owe her a lot too, Dr. Norton. If you happen to be watching tonight, thank you. We bought a Greenville office, and Gloria was running the show. And Gloria is one of those people that when you meet her, I mean, it's immediate. Like you can go, this is a special person. This is a talented person, and this is a good person. And this is a person I can trust. And I literally probably have not been in that Greenville office 20 times over the last 5 to 6 years. We just have occasional meetings. I show Gloria the numbers, and she runs with it. Her and Dr. Taylor are just absolutely crushing it in Greenville. So, you know what? Matter of fact, I don't think Dr. Foster and I would have bought the Greenville practice if Gloria wasn't going to stay. She was that much of that practice. She continues to be. I cannot imagine that practice without her. I can't imagine a better team than the entire Greenville team. And, in particular, I know Gloria and Dr. Taylor the most. And of course, I know Brooke, and Tasha, and then, Allison's the optical manager. And Tasha, I think, has been there a long time as well. And Brooke's come to Newport and worked for us. And then I remember there's two, Dr. Taylor will go through all the names. So, and that's the great thing about it is so that guy said, you don't have a great business, you got a great job. Newport is now a business to me because I got Molly and everybody running it, but then Greenville is truly a business for me because I got wonderful people running it. It's a great part of my life, and it's a joy to have all them part of my team. So with that, Becca, go ahead and play the Gloria Kaufman video.
Okay, so this should be, it's a 2-night live stream, but this is actually the last person I'm interviewing and recording this. But here's the story. So we had a Dr. Graham Taylor came to our practice as a student doctor about 6 or 7 years ago, and Dr. Jeff Foster, who never really liked working with externs, he would just come get them when he saw something cool, then he'd send them back. And one day he came and got Dr. Taylor and never saw him again, because he and Jeff just like this. And I never forget Jeff coming to me the last day Dr. Taylor was here, and he said, this has happened a little earlier than I anticipated, because I really still want to practice, but this is the guy that I want eventually to be in my spot. Do you think we can hire him? And I said, well, we're asking Newport to be a 4-doctor practice, which I think it actually now could be. But we got this practice over here in Greenville that I happen to know is for sale, and we could buy that, and then we probably would definitely be a 4-doctor practice. And then we bought it, and then Dr. Foster passes away 2 months later. And and to give her credit, because hopefully she's watching, Dr. Nancy Norton is a big part of where we're at today. Number one, because she's the person we bought the practice from, but she could have said, "No, guys, I'm retired," and left, and she hung on another year so Graham could work for Jeff while we regrouped. So Nancy, we love you and thank you for that. And this is Nancy's niece, but almost like daughter in a way, Gloria Kaufman, who her love is in opticianry. And so you were the optical manager, I believe, pretty much when we bought the place, but we quickly made you office manager because we realized how talented you were. And so, even though your passion is optical, you're now running the whole show over there in Greenville, and Dr. Taylor vouches for that. And you're also a new mom. And
Yes.
so you're an incredible office manager, and probably even a more incredible mom, and that's a high bar to set. But I actually remember Jeff and I, and you'll be glad to know, I don't know if you knew Jeff said this too, but like the fact that you stayed was a big part of us buying the practice. Like if you were going to leave, because I asked you several times as we were buying it, I'm sure you're staying. Because if you've ever said, I think I'm just going to go ahead, and you lived over an hour away, and Nancy was your relative, and that was a big reason I'm sure you were there. I'm sure you had a lot of thoughts of leaving, and I'm glad it's amazing how things happen. If you'd have left, there's a very good chance we would have not bought that practice. And at practice, and I'm going to give you and Dr. Taylor credit here. And I'm a lot of things, and some of them are bad, but I'm a very genuine, honest person. Without Gloria Kaufman and Dr. Graham Taylor, this book does not get written. You are a big part of our success, and the success of the Greenville office, and the fact you've grown fourfold. I was going to say 6 years, but it's really 5, because after we bought the practice, there was a year you did not have Dr. Taylor, because he had to stay here to take Dr. Foster's place. So I guess my first of all, welcome, Gloria, and anything you want to add to the introduction or say before I ask you a few questions.
Nothing at all. You covered it. Very flattering.
Okay, well, so when we bought the practice, what were your thoughts, and why did you finally decide, what, I'm going to stay, even though I live in Bristol, Tennessee, and this is in Greenville. I got to drive over an hour every day,
for sure.
And so, and I'm honored you did. Why did you stick around?
Well, I was definitely nervous. I've worked with family most of my life. But honestly, I believed in all of us. I believed that you and myself and Dr. Taylor could grow Greenville in ways that we hadn't even thought of, to new heights, to things that we just really hadn't thought of before. So I just believed in all of us. And I really thought that we had something special and could do new things together. And I didn't know I was going to gain a new family in all of that. I always make the joke that the practice is pretty much like a family member to me. I've been there since I was a little girl. I did job shadowing as a child for Dr. Norton. And I've grown up there in more ways than just getting older. So for me, it was a no-brainer to at least give it a shot.
Well, I'm glad you did.
So, sure.
So let me ask you this. So, the first thing I noticed too, though, is when I first bought the practice, the team looks quite a bit different now than it did 6 years ago. And from the outside looking in, and I asked Dr. Taylor the same thing, there was quite a bit of turnover. All of a sudden, in the last 2 to 3 years, that has completely come to a halt.
Definitely.
And I think that is not also the last 3 years, your growth has been incredible as you've figured it. So somehow you have built a very, very good team first, family oriented culture there to the point that we're not losing people anymore. And
No.
here's the greatest example I can think of that. By the way, I've been there. You can count how many times I've been in that office on 2 hands. And you could even do that if you blew off a couple of fingers off one hand. Like I've really not hardly ever been there. And there's a reason for that. Why would I mess with success? Like all I could do is just screw things up. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is allow talented people to flop, to spread their wings. But I came there one day and I thought, I was driving through Greenville. I thought, I own this place. I never hardly see it. I'm just going to go in and look around and I show up and everybody's still there. It's 30 minutes after closing. And I asked Graham, like, what's going on? He's like, they just hang out.
It's called table time every day.
So go through that with me. How have we gone from turnover to I want to stay here and hang out with you people? Like,
yeah.
Go through that with me.
I think it definitely took Dr. Taylor and I a couple of years to find our groove. We continue to have a lot of turnover like so many other healthcare companies and practices. But we started hiring for personality and compatibility versus experience or education. And that little small morsel really changed who we were hiring and who we were looking at. And I think we found what we call our dream team. We cut our turnover rate, I believe, with compassion, empathy, and pretty much just good old fun. I think of every team member as part of my family. Just like you said, we enjoy even after the day when we've clocked out, we go outside to our little picnic table and we hang out for 10 or 15 minutes, sometimes an hour, just talking about the day or talking about what the night holds for us. Just kind of, decompressing for the day. I think that I try to make sure every single person in that office can come to me and talk to me about anything, whether it be work or home or the weather, anything. I try to be open, that they can come and talk to me about anything. And we also focus a lot on fun. We make sure we do those quarterly fun Fridays, and we also do that yearly TAOP convention where we take the whole office and we try to also do a fun event during that convention time as well. So I do think we focus a lot on fun, to be honest.
That's just that. To me, it's just incredible. So, and maybe just to follow up on that just a little bit more, maybe drop a lot of great pearls right there. When I wrote this book, I had 27. I had 30 doctors do what's called a cohort group with me, and I had 5 groups of 6, and we literally just group studied the book. And I asked all 30 of them, what's your number one pain point? Like, what's your number one issue? 27 out of 30, that is exactly 90%, said staff. And so it's not a problem in Newport, and now it's not a problem in Greenville. And I remember I texted my team, like, why do we not have that problem? And I would ask you that question. Mm-hmm. When 90% of optometrists say my team is my biggest issue, and in Greenville, our team is our biggest strength. What's the difference?
At the end of the day, they're not employees to me. I don't even like calling them staff. I mean, they're my friends. And that's kind of a really narrow line to walk as a manager, because that also brings, other issues, because sometimes it makes it a little bit hard for me to be tough. But there's no need for me to be tough if, everybody can come to me and be honest, and that we can all just go to each other if there's an issue, or if there's no issue, just to go and say, hey, you're doing a really good job. At the end of the day, I think it's just interpersonal connection and relationships that you forge with those individuals that you work with every day.
Well, that's beautiful. The 2 things that are there. Number one, most consultants will preach and teach that you need to have a professional relationship with your team, but not be close to them. Right. And I just think that is absolutely about the crappiest advice I've ever heard.
And I'm the opposite, for sure.
If you can work with somebody for even 3 years and you don't care about them, there's something wrong with you. You need a therapist.
For sure.
I mean, holy crap, how can you work with somebody and not care about them and not be their friend and care about their kids.
Yeah. I mean, we spend more time with these people than we do our families at home.
Right. And so anyway, and that's why you're so successful and so great at what you do. So I guess, and I'm going to plug, I'm really trying to make this live stream mainly educational and entertaining, and without just book. But, one thing I would say is, and you've used this a time or two, it certainly isn't something you have to use all the time, but we have that system of accountability. So you can be friends and family with your team, but yet, hey, here's the system we use to hold ourselves accountable. And when somebody is doing something that's not acceptable, you can take them through that process and not make it personal or emotional. It's
right.
This is the system. So there's the little plug for the book. So I guess here's what I would, I'm going to ask a dangerous question. I asked this to Dr. Taylor. So this is going to come out of left field. So, what's something about me that's maybe helped you in your thought process? Is there a pearl or two that you've learned from me? And then is there something that I do that drives you nuts?
It'll be the same thing.
Okay.
So, you
Fair.
are what I call an idea man. And so you always have something new that we could try, or maybe a different way to do things. And so I really like that about you, because I've been doing this for more than 14 years, but I don't ever think that I know it all. So there's always something new that we can learn, maybe a different way to do things. So that's probably my favorite thing about you. But then it's also kind of harried moments sometimes, because we get all the ideas at one time.
I gotta slow myself down a little sometimes. Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably my favorite and most annoying thing.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. So, take me through this. So let's get into the metrics part and the numbers. Sure. You have spearheaded, and Dr. Taylor gives you all the credit, and God bless him. I could not get him to brag on himself, no matter how hard I tried. He always deflected it to you and Allison and the team. And that's why I did take care to mention every one of you by name in the book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because even though I'm not there, but I understand that you guys are 35% of that number on that book comes from Greenville. And we've only been doing this for 4 to 5 years as with Dr. Taylor there. And that's a very impressive statistic to throw out there. So, without you guys, it's not the blueprint to 4 million, it's the blueprint to 2.6.
Right.
So that's not near as impressive. Take me through, 2 or 3 reasons that you think you have grown that practice 4-fold, literally in 4 years, 4x. I mean, that is.
Well, I can't take any credit. I feel like Dr. Taylor is a hard worker. He may be the hardest worker that I've ever encountered in my adult life.
Yeah.
He enjoys working. He enjoys working hard, but he doesn't take himself too seriously, which makes him easy to get along with. So definitely him being a hard worker. Dr. Norton was kind of at the end of her career, and she was only working 3 days a week, and he came in and was ready to work all the days. So he's definitely a big drive in that. He is a hard worker, and that's where most of that comes from. I would say for me, I just try to make sure whatever we're doing makes sense. So just because we've done something the same way for the last 30 years, that doesn't mean it works well or that it ever worked well. So I think sometimes we get stuck in, well, this is how we've always done things. And so I'm big on, well, what if we tried it this way? I mean, doesn't mean we have to change it, but maybe we try it that way and just see maybe if it's better or more efficient. So I try to be objective and look at things outside of the box. And then I'm always like constantly learning and trying to teach myself new things. Like I said, I've been in the field for over 14 years, but I never once thought that I had it all figured out. And last but not least, most importantly, our optical team is amazing. Our whole staff is amazing. It starts at the front, all the way through. We just have an amazing group of people. Our dream team just really, they like
Dr. Taylor, and I let him take the time to do it. He literally went through each name.
Yeah.
From front desk to tech to optical, and I said, you should do that. And then he ended it up with you. You'll get to see it later. So, I think, and I'm not just saying this, and you know, and I don't get to talk to you enough, and I'm going to apologize to you in front of everybody, but at the same time, I think there's a reason for it. I'll make sure you understand this. You literally can go weeks and months and never hear from me.
For real. Yeah.
And so, and so I want to explain that, and it's this book, and the whole point of my book is, by the way, is to me, if you feel like you have to have your hands on everything, you don't have a business, you have a job.
Very true.
I don't have a job, I have a business, because I've got a lot of successful, talented people like you that make it work. And so I don't have to. And I think that makes you fulfilled and joyful.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I could be one of those old guys that, like, I got to show up over there once a week and call you and ask you and tell you, well, maybe you should do this. You know, why would I do that when I know how good you are and how talented you are? And I really think you're one of the best, if not the best in the country. And I think between you and Molly, I've just got these two rock stars.
Oh, thank you.
And so why would I even mess with that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to apologize to you, but you don't need me really. And so, you know, and I say that to say this. So if there's other office managers out there, I think probably watching this, and other doctors that are struggling and they're in a grind and they're trying to figure it out. And here you are, you've grown, I know you don't want to take credit, but no, the office manager and the doctor, you and Dr. Taylor, you set the tone. You know, 6 years ago, I made Molly an office manager and she was a part-time college worker. And that's because I recognized her talent. And I leave you alone to run Greenville because I recognize your talent. So you are doing something really right there. What would you say to the office manager or doctor that's in that grind and they're kind of struggling? You know, give them just a couple of pieces of advice.
I know it's a job, and you know, jobs aren't always fun. Work isn't always fun. But it should be. Especially if you're going to spend 8 to 10 hours a day doing it. Stop taking yourself so seriously. Yes, focus on the important stuff, but also focus on the fun stuff. You know, like I said, try not to take yourself so seriously. And just kind of have fun with it, because that's where I'm at this point. Like, yes, we're doing well and the growth is there and the numbers are there, but at the end of the day, I enjoy going to work. I have no issue driving an hour one way, you know, to go to my job for 8 hours a day. So if I could say nothing else, just don't take yourself too seriously and have fun with it.
The probably the best quote I can think of to come up with is, make it a place where you get to come to work. You don't have to come to work.
For sure.
I always try to remember that. And so I'll finish it up with this. So the book's title is We're Not Selling, We're Winning. And before this, Dr. Taylor said, when I first heard that title, I thought, what does that even mean? But he said, you know, now that I've read the book, I don't know how much you got to read of it, but he said now it actually is a brilliant title because it covers so many things, from how you talk to patients to the fact that we're going to stay independently owned and we're going to do this ourselves. And anyway, you know, first of all, knowing I wrote the book, you know, what did you think I was nuts when you first heard it? And then what's your reaction to the book? And then the fact that you are a lot of the success of the book. And then maybe a little bit on what the title does mean to you.
Well, I would agree. When I heard the title, I was like, oh, there's going to be a lot of sports analogies, which is going to make my dad really happy. But maybe I might not understand them all. But really, that's exactly what we're doing. And that's what we're doing in Greenville. We're not selling, we are winning. And I think that shows with the fact, like I said, our team, our crew, we enjoy being together. We make plans together outside of work. We hang out at work, off the clock. And I think that makes all the difference at the end of the day. You can have the best products, you can have the most expensive frames, but at the end of the day, if your people aren't happy with where they are and what they're doing, none of it will matter. You're not going to be able to win. So
what we both figured out, I think, is, you know, I actually did an article, and I don't mind my patients hearing this because they do come first in the office. But I actually have an article out there called, in the optometry world, called My Patients Come Second, which you never hear anybody else say.
No.
But here's the clarification. As a unit, as a clinic, as a team, we all put our patients first. But me, as the owner of this practice, I put my team first.
Yes. If
But it's
you
a
want
great
your team to put your patients first, you have to put your team first, right?
it's a great snowball effect because you have
Yeah.
a very happy team that wants to hang out and do table time 30 minutes after.
Yeah.
I will argue that by putting patients second for me and putting my team first, my patients are getting much better care because of a happy, very high culture, successful team taking care of them. It's a great snowball. I
For
take
sure.
care of them, they take care of my patients, and everybody wins. And that's one of the we're winning things. So
Yeah.
I'll let you kind of wrap it up with that, and then we'll go enjoy our weekend. It's Friday night at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I am honored and blessed to be a part of this winning team, and Dr. Taylor and you and Dr. Eisenhower and Dr. Foster. I'm blessed. I'm blessed, very blessed.
Well, we're blessed to have you. And like I said, if you had not stuck around, I probably don't write this book because we'd never get Greenville. And like you don't realize how wonderful and talented you are. And I'm so glad you're on here because you are a huge part of my success. And you touch, what I always tell office managers and doctors is, you don't realize the positive effect you have on people, not only the patients that you serve, but then now you've got these, 6 people that work with you every day, and they're
Mhm.
happier at home, and that has effect on their kids and their spouses.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you're a blessing, and I love you, and you have no
Oh,
idea how great it is, and how much that I go to sleep every night at home, and I sometimes don't even think about the Greenville office because I know it's in such great hands.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, and I like I said, really happy to be a part of everything that we're doing.
Okay.
Really proud to be a little piece of what we're doing.
So I'm proud to be associated with you, and you have a good evening, and thank you.
Thanks. You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye bye.
Hey, welcome back. I'm about 5 seconds behind there. So that was Gloria Kaufman. And, in 4 minutes, we're supposed to go with Coach Fulmer. So I'm going to comment on Coach Fulmer's after. Y'all are going to really enjoy Coach Fulmer. He really has a lot of great things about leading a team. I'm really looking forward to you guys getting to hear that. And by the way, Coach Fulmer was my first interview I ever did. But, just speaking, you want to brag on Gloria just a little bit more. Um, I don't know if, and you're going to hear it with Dr. Taylor after Coach Fulmer. Well, actually, Dr. Taylor goes last at 9 o'clock. But one of the things that really impresses me about the Greenville office is that nobody wants to take the credit. Now, I think it was, I can't remember if it was, somebody said, it's amazing what you can accomplish when nobody cares who gets the credit. You talk to, Gloria, and it's Allison, and it's, Brooke and Tasha, and it's the team. And then you talk to Dr. Taylor, it's Gloria. You talk to Gloria, it's Dr. Taylor. Like they really have something special there, to the point where I was interviewing her on a Friday. They were already closed, and they're still hanging out. And like, how do you build a culture where people hang out on a Friday afternoon and it's the weekend? So, it's just an amazing culture they've built there. So, thank you to Gloria. And, I love Gloria. Just, I like to make it a place where you get to come to work, not you have to come to work. And Gloria's made, and Dr. Taylor and the rest of that team has made the place where they all get to come to work. They don't have to come to work. They get to come to work. And that is how you build a very successful practice. You build a great team, and you put the right people in the right place. You put the right quarterback in place. You put everybody in their proper position, and you give them the tools and to win, and you put them in the best situation to win. You put them in the best position to win. And if that sounds like coach speak, I guess it is, because we're about to play the interview I had with Coach Phillip Fulmer. It was about a 30-minute interview, and it was my first interview. Like I literally started off with Coach Fulmer. I was going to try to do this live with everyone, and I cannot imagine the logistical nightmare that would have been. And Coach Fulmer was kind enough to do this for me. And when I first asked him, he said, I'm not going to be in town that day, but I'd still love to do it for you. Can we just record it? And that's what gave me this idea. So now I get to record everybody, and it's going pretty well. So it's 7:54. So, with that, I don't want to be even a minute late with Coach Fulmer. There may be a few people on here that, on here specifically to see him, a lot of Tennessee football fans in the area. So, Becca, go ahead and cue up the Coach Phillip Fulmer video. So before we dive into the metrics and how I build a talk about what every championship team has in common, whether it's on a football field or in an optometry practice. And when I was thinking about who I wanted to share this moment with me, I thought, who do I have as a friend that knows about building a winning culture and winning championships and just building a great team and a great culture. And I'm blessed enough to have a Hall of Fame football coach that I can call friend. And Coach Fulmer, before I even go into the numbers and everything, and it's just something I thought of. My wife and I back in the late 90s and 2000s and the 90s and 2000s, we went to a lot of football games, and because of you and your winning percentage, we had a lot of good times. And you gave a lot of people out there a lot of good times, traveling to away games, and your record speaks for itself. It's, no accident. You're a first ballot Hall of Famer. But thank you for all the good times you've given Tennessee football fans over the years. And I just want to get that out there before I even finish the introduction.
Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, that was a really great time in our lives, and we're blessed to have so many good players that chose to come there. And Tennessee was a great place to recruit too, and we went far and wide and found the best and molded them as we could along the way. And great to have a group of coaches like that stayed together. That was just, amazing, because that doesn't happen all the time. But we were a family. We believed in each other and trusted each other to do our jobs. And I was the guy that had to make the tough decisions, but we were all in it together all the time. And that gave us a chance to be national champions and make 3 or 4 runs at other times and SEC champions. And being a part of that was really, really fun. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I already want to go off script because you mentioned 3 or 4 things that I think would be very, very important to talk about. So, but I do want to get out there to your statistics because they're just quite remarkable. You led the University of Tennessee to national championship in 1998, first BCS champions. You went 13-0 that year. You were the coach of the year, but also your success was definitely sustained over 17 years. You won 152 games, 4 SEC championships, and you developed countless players who went on to the NFL. But you coached my first cousin, who's like a brother to me. So it's just it reaches beyond the NFL. Just because not everybody goes to the NFL. Matter of fact, very few do.
Yeah, not many do.
It's developing men and developing a culture where the players, you still keep up with them and they keep up with you. And you just build a culture where everyone from the star quarterback, you coached one of probably the most well-known football player. He's on commercials and he's on Saturday Night Live, Peyton Manning. But you've also, you have to handle the third stringers and the walk-ons, and you have to make them all feel like they have ownership to have that type of success that you've had. And that's a championship culture. That's why I'm honored to have you on here, because you've done that at the highest level. And I'll go ahead and it's not one of the questions I even had on here, but you mentioned that, you build that family atmosphere and you have a bunch of people that care for each other and it's like a family. And, you and I met through one of my best friends, Coach John Chavis. And,
he was one of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. He's, and he was I guess he started with you probably as just a graduate assistant or he worked, you developed him, you helped develop him into one of the best defensive coordinators, period, in my opinion. So, you've developed coaches, you developed players, you've developed, you had a great culture in your 17 years there at Tennessee. What are just some of the ways you did that?
Well, I think it goes without saying, everybody has it in them, to be able to be a part of a team, be able to, listen and learn. I go back to my time even as a youth, with coaches that I had that influenced me and gave me a direction. I didn't know it at the time, probably necessarily, but when I had the opportunity to be a head coach and really going back to being an assistant head coach, where Coach Majors gave me an opportunity to do more in the organization. It came almost natural to to us to be a family because we liked each other and we cared about each other. And, you know, it's easy to sit and talk about the national championship because that is the ultimate, and everybody wants to talk about, you know, what was your favorite game, or, you know, obviously that had to be one of them, but it goes back also to those really hard times that you have when you're putting the team together. And one of my favorite teams is actually our 90, I think it's 93 team that started off the season 1-3. You know, we'd lost our quarterback, lost our second team quarterback, had a bunch of other injuries, and you know, had a tough loss to UCLA at UCLA, beat Florida, beat Georgia, or no, beat Georgia, lost to Florida, lost to Mississippi State. We're 1-3. And I look back, that was one of our greatest accomplishments because we went from a team that was, you know, really floundering, and they took advantage. We took advantage of an opportunity and a challenge, and we won 7 of the next 8 ball games. But most of all, after all of that, we went 45-5. So that foundation was built, you know, on tough times and everybody staying together, and it served us really, really well for a long time at UT.
I remember that team. Yeah, it was looking like we were headed for a losing season, and we turned it around, and that really was the springboard to the best several years of Tennessee football.
Yeah, best era. We were 45-5, and it led. You know, obviously the guys like Peyton Manning and Al Wilson and Gerard Mayo and Jason Witten, so on and on. Those made a huge difference. But everybody, it was the team trainers, the managers. You know, everybody stayed together and worked together to make it happen. And that's whether it's, you know, your business or any business or a family or your church or whatever. You know, there are challenges that come up that lead to opportunities if you have the foundation. And Coach Dickey was part of that as an athletic director. He was on board. Our president was supportive. You know, we had everything aligned to do what we did.
You know, the thing that comes to my mind to ask now would be, you know, just like, you know, going 1-3, when you run a business, it seems like there are highs and there are lows.
Yeah, there are. You're right.
You know, it waxes and wanes. It's you know, I've actually talked to several optometrists, and things were kind of slow in January. We always kind of freak out a little in January, but because things are slow. Can you remember 1 or 2 moments or things that happened when you were at that 1-3 mark? You know, what did you say, or what did you do to
Yeah,
because you'll see a lot of football teams, once they lose 3 games, it's like, well, the season's shot, and they just go in the tank. Your team's never went in the tank. So what?
Yeah, you know what we did. Of course, you know, it was a big decision, but on Sunday, after the third loss, I told our staff, I said, I want 3 things on offense, 3 things on defense, and I'll take 3 things in the kicking game that had nothing to do with the players, but it had everything to do with decisions that we made along the way that we would think we could do better. And we spent several hours, 3 or 4 hours on those 9 things, those 3 offensively, 3 defensively, and 3 kicking game. And I went into the players, and you know, you could tell, you know, their eyes were down, their body language terrible. They're getting ready to get chewed out by me, and I surprised them, and I said, guys, here are 9 things that we came up with as coaches that we can do better. And you know, all of a sudden their body language changed, their eyes got up, and they started listening. And then you give them the plan. These are things that we're going to do better going forward that will help this football team. I don't know if we can win any or all of the games that we've got to play. We've got 7 to play. And you know, that team went to work and won 6 out of the 7 ball games and the bowl game. But as we said, it laid the foundation from there to what turned out to be the best era in modern Tennessee football history. Out of those ashes came an opportunity, and they took advantage of it. And they listened, and we all became one. It wasn't fragmented, and the girlfriends didn't like them. The parents were mad at them. All of a sudden, it was us against the world, and the history, rest is history.
I think it's the year we beat Virginia Tech in the bowl
That's
game.
right. That's right.
I
We
think that's
did a
that's
good Virginia Tech team. Yeah.
the what that strikes me because it's in the book, and this is one of the things I've always appreciated about your leadership style is, and what I just heard you say is I took responsibility for my team because I'm the coach. I never can remember in watching any of your press conferences you ever degrading or belittling a player to the media or anybody. You always said that any loss was your fault.
Yeah. Well,
And,
I mean, that's you are the leader. You are responsible, and you're the one that everybody's going to look for, for that leadership in those tough times. Anybody can lead when everything's going perfect, and but the time that you're in the trenches and you're fighting for whatever it is you're fighting for, you have to take responsibility, and it goes back to to doing the right thing, preparing yourself well, believing and trusting yourself, believing and trusting the people around you that they're going to do, do the right thing as well. You can't be with everybody, all the time, but you can help be a part of a team that when tough times happen, tough people respond.
in my book, I call it the I, and I'm not going to go into it because I want to spend all the time I can. You don't have a Hall of Fame coach and leader to talk to every day, but I call it the I, we, y'all leadership. I screwed this up. How can we fix it? Boy, y'all did a great job. That's it in kind of in a nutshell. And you're awfully good at that. Like I said, I think that's why your players paid so hard for you. They knew you had your back.
Well, and we created competition for position too. I mean, everybody, including for the staff wise, we wanted guys that were trying to stay razor sharp, all the time, and there's nothing better than just a good old competition,
Right.
because for anything that you do.
When you had that competition, you had to develop coaches. It's not just players. You have to develop the managers and the coaches. And, in an optometric practice, you've got your fellow doctors, you've got your managers, and you've got also your team. What did you look for when you were developing the coaches and the players?
First, you look for people that are from a foundation standpoint, have a good background, but they're willing to work, willing to do whatever it takes. That's in reason. People that make intentional decisions, not scatterguns. Making this is how I'm going to get to this result, and that are willing to work all day. I also saw in your book too, one of the fallacies is that, and I was guilty from it, from time to time, where I thought I was just going to outwork everybody, all the time, or spend unproductive time doing unproductive things, and that's the worst thing that you can do. People need their rest. They need they need to get up every morning and feel good about coming to the office and those kind of things. And so I learned early in my career that that you had to treat people well, too, and they'll be loyal to you that way.
That's great advice. Would you say part of that is having not only developing your coaches and developing your players, but trusting them? Like, did you ever feel like there was a time in your career where maybe your response to a little adversity was trying to overcorrect or over control or control everything?
Yeah, we all have lessons, in life, and in fact, as we used to call them, lessons after every game, win or lose. We would not write down the things that we did well, the things we would think we do better, things we don't ever want to do again, those kind of things, and that was part of part of our routine, and everybody, including the graduate assistants and everybody else, was they had to be part of doing the lessons. Because you make mistakes and you make mistakes sometimes when you win, and you say, well, I was fortunate on that one. We really don't want to do that again, if we can help it. So I don't think it. Going back to the first thing I said is everybody needs to be intentional about getting their business done.
Right. And speaking of the getting business done and winning games, obviously the head coach has to run the whole show, but a lot of times in football, at least from a fan standpoint, just somebody that was an average player back in the day, football lives and dies with the quarterback. Mm-hmm. And in our practice, our quarterback are the office managers. And, what I have found in my career is when I have messed up, I actually tried to do my office manager's job instead of letting her do her job. How do you empower your quarterbacks to lead on the field? Without you maybe having to call every single play. Like you coach Peyton Manning, and then you coach T. Martin and had a national championship. And what kind of how did they operate as your quarterback, and how did you empower them?
It's very interesting. We had some really good quarterbacks at my time. My first quarterback was Heath Schuler, and runner up for the Heisman Trophy, and he had his strengths and his weaknesses, and we tried to play to those strengths, and minimize the weaknesses as much as we possibly can. In other words, not asking him to do something that he really shouldn't do,
Okay.
And then you follow that with Peyton. Well, Peyton, as a sophomore and junior, was a lot different than when he had to go in and start as a freshman. So it was our responsibility, to keep him out of trouble, trying to do things that he really, wasn't ready to do. Now, he got ready quicker than most, granted, but still along the way we had to, baby him through it. T. Martin was entirely different than Peyton, but we won a national championship because, again, we tried to do the things fundamentally and schematically, that he was more successful at, and so on. And with all the other quarterbacks, we started two freshmen one year, and they alternated the first half of the year. Schaefer and Eric Ainge had entirely different styles, but we made that a plus for us by putting pressure on the defense. Sometimes they're in the game at the same time, right? So the point being that everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and it's my job to direct and make sure that we're working in the right avenues to maximize our strengths and minimize our weakness that's at all positions, but particularly at quarterback, or your office manager, because things just don't go well if he's not doing well.
You said something interesting there, because I have a 3-day transformation guide that's on my website and in my book. A lot of people spend so much time trying to correct their weaknesses, they don't spend enough time maybe maximizing their strengths.
That's exactly right.
So I even have a thing where you go to your office for one day and you ask your team in the morning, what do we do well? And then let's just spend a day working on that. Like, let's do what we do really well all day today.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to really help with the transformation. And that sounds like what you're saying is, you not only try to correct your weaknesses, but you also try to maximize your strengths.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that led to our physicalness, how we ran a play. General Nealon used to say you had to run it 1,000 times during the week before you did it in the game. We weren't quite that's much of a stickler, but we wanted to be sure that the things that we did well, physically, that in the third and fourth quarters, it was affecting the other team along the way. We used to call it open daters. We wanted them to want to have an open date after playing us, because we're going to beat the stew out of them, physically, and take their will away. And I'm not saying to do that in your office or your business, but it's a mindset. It's a mindset that we all have, that this is what we do and this is what we're going to do well.
Well, you want to be as good at 4:50 p.m. as you are at 9 in the morning.
That's right.
So there's kind of an analogy there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the record is. I don't have the data, but it does seem like to me, just being a big fan, that you won a lot of games in the fourth quarter. You want your record in less than 7 points or less than one possession wins is probably astronomical, I would imagine.
It was.
So
I
I
haven't
guess
looked at it either, but it probably is.
just
This
thinking out
league.
loud.
This league, the conference. There's a lot of really good teams, and there's only a few great ones. And every time that we be moved in that great category, that's where we try to live. But
You won a lot of close games, but you also, it seemed like you won a lot of comeback games. Like
yeah, well,
I can remember one game at Georgia. We were down in the head between the hedges, 24,
oh yeah,
31-7. I think
yeah,
Ainge was the quarterback then. We came back and won by 2 or 3 touchdowns. So
yeah.
what do you attribute the toughness of your team to win a lot of games in the fourth quarter, but then also no matter how bad it's going or how far down they were, your teams never seem to quit?
Yeah, that was a great thing that we took a lot of pride in. We practiced hard and we had great off seasons, and so did everybody else, and worked hard. But there was that fine line that there was a confidence and air, if you will, in the coaches and all the support groups. We all subscribed to the same mindset. We're going to win, to do what it takes to win the game, and it was our job to put them in the position to do that. But it's their job to execute. We can't execute for them. So we had a lot of good players and good leadership, and we didn't just give away games either. By not being fundamentally sound and doing the right things on the field and off the field and in practice and in meetings. There wasn't much room for error. Um, that would be accepted, and that's where competition, comes in on a daily basis.
Yeah, you've been retired from coaching for quite a while now, but people still talk about the culture you had at Tennessee. What do you think created that legacy for you that even is talked about to this day?
I think it was a lot of things. How we recruited. We looked at not just a guy that was a very talented guy, but maybe hadn't been the best person or something. We stayed away from that as much as we possibly could. We looked for the type person. Family was important. If there's a mom and dad at home, or at least a strong person in that family unit, that was more ideal for us than maybe taking guys that were selfish. And sometimes guys learned how to be unselfish once they got to campus. Because we weren't perfect at that. And then the coaches, the example that the coaches, they were the head coach of their position, and we 100+ guys. I'm not going to influence them all like they can on an individual daily basis, and then I'm the support guy if we need some good discussions about attitude. I'll put it
I'm
that
sure
way.
you were good at that too. Yeah. I tell listen, I appreciate you doing this, and I'm going to ask you one more question, and we'll wrap it up. If you're going to walk into an optometry practice tomorrow, and the owner said, "Coach, help me build a championship team," what would you tell them to do first?
I think the first thing that you have to do is be the example. You're the head coach of your position. We just kind of said that. You can't expect the persons that you work with, to do what you need to be done if you're not doing it well yourself. So, expect yourself to be the best leader in the room, and the rest of it will take care of itself.
You know what? And I'll wrap it up. I'm actually going to ask you one more question. The dumbest thing I ever said as a business owner, this is actually in my book, is I had a team member come to me one day and say, the morale's kind of down. We did this thing called Fun Friday where we would close on Friday, do something fun. We missed one. And she said, morale's down because we skipped that Fun Friday little. And I said, quote, well, there's 15 of you and 2 of me, or 2 of us. So really you guys control morale more than I do. I personally think that's the dumbest thing I ever said as the coach of my team. No, the coach is the morale. The coach is the culture. And so that's why I wanted to bring you on, because the first part of my book is about team and culture. Yeah. And I can't think of anybody in my life that I would want to talk to more about that than you. So last question, what are you up to these days? Anything you want to talk about? I know you've got, I think you said 9 grandkids.
9 grandchildren.
What else is going on in your life today?
I saw in your book too, or a line or two about finding quality time, not just working to be working, and that's, I learned a tough lesson that way during my coaching time. And my family was a big part of what they came to practice. They would come for meals, although I sometimes couldn't get home because I was traveling, whatever. The players enjoyed seeing them as maybe more than they enjoyed me, to be honest. So I am the assistant Pee Wee baseball coach. I'm the flag football coach assistant. I don't want to be the head coach because you got to do the snacks and prep parents. I don't like doing all that. But and enjoying life, too. We hunt and fish and do family things a lot more than I was able to do early in my career.
Well, Coach, I'm honored that you did this for me today.
You're a great friend, and you got your book. The people are going to love your book. You got a lot, because you talk about the lessons learned too. It's not just preaching at anybody. The lessons or mistakes that that you've made, that you've turned into a victory, if you will, for people that have the same issues that you have in any business, or like I said, your church, or your family. There are always constant adjustments that we all can make for the better.
Well, Coach, that means a lot coming from you. And everybody, Hall of Fame football coach, Coach Phillip Fulmer. Also, like I said, co-star of The Blind Side as well.
That was fun. That was fun to do.
Just last thing, just personal note here, that Coach Fulmer is an even better person than he is a coach, and that's a high bar. And I appreciate you coming on, Coach.
Thank you, buddy, and good luck to you, and congratulations on all your success. And I love the faith that you have, that you wear on your sleeve, and that's wonderful.
When you realize God's in control. Oops, my phone goes off at the very end. I'll send it to my video guy; he'll edit that out. But when you realize God's in control, makes everything easy. Takes the weight off your shoulders.
You're absolutely right. Right. I love your attitude.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Wow. What an honor. And, I've got 8 minutes till my next 2 guests, which mean the world to me because they're my 2 junior partners. But, I got so many things I could say about Coach Fulmer's interview that I think apply to any business you run. First of all, he talks about he found the best people and then molded them. I think one of the biggest mistakes that and my wife's in pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical company blows my mind. They will take experience over everything, and I've never understood that. Experience to me is like, it should be so far down the list. You cannot train good people to be good people or to be talented. Experience to me is so far down the list on why you should hire somebody. He found the best people and molded them. And I have found that in our practice, that when we hire for the person and the personality, and somebody that's willing to work, and somebody that just interviews well, and you can just tell they have a glow and a positivity about them, that wins over experience every time. And through the tough times, they stayed together and they trusted each other. Dr. Jeff Foster and I trusted each other. I trust Emily and Graham. There's a trust there. If you don't trust your teammates, you're going to be in trouble. And you have to learn to trust them. And they got to be trustworthy, I guess, too. So you also want to hire or find trustworthy people to be in your practice. This is really key to me. The 90% of people saying, I can't find a good team. Coach Fulmer said everybody has it in them. There's no way that 90% of us has a bad team. Everybody has it in them. You've got to put systems in place. You got to have a training system, and you got to have systems in place that brings out the best in people and puts them in the best position to win. And that's where football and optometry meet. And another thing that I mentioned about Coach Fulmer, and this is kind of a good opportunity to talk about my dad too, is I call it the I, we, y'all leadership. A really good leader shoulders the blame and gives out the praise. I, we, y'all. Boy, I screwed this up. How are we going to fix it? Boy, y'all did a great job fixing it. I, we, y'all. It's a great way to lead, and it's not as easy as it sounds. My dad was a tyrant. He coached basketball in the 70s at Camden, still the only coach to lead Camden to a state basketball title, or pardon me, not title, but to a state basketball tournament. And he would go crazy in practice, but in a game, he never chastised a player. And I noticed this even at 6, 7 years old. I remember asking my dad, like, Dad, well, you don't even you're so crazy in practice, and yet in a game you never yell. And he said, Son, these kids have parents and friends in the audience. I don't want to embarrass them. So, and if they're not ready to play, that's my fault. I'm the coach. Now I can try to correct it in practice, and I will correct it in practice. But if they're not ready for the game, I'm the leader. That is on me. If your team is not performing right in your practice, you need to look in the mirror, because that could very well be on you. Like Dr. Kurt said earlier in my first interview, that, the doctors love to call me and say, my team, my team, my team. And then, I come in and say, hey, you might want to look at, how you're doing some things yourself. So, and it takes a lot of courage, to look yourself in the mirror as the leader of your team and say, maybe some of this is my fault. Maybe a lot of this is my fault. Maybe I should shoulder some of this blame. So, and another thing he mentioned that was very, very profound for me is to maximize your team's strength. We spend so much time in meetings turning them into, here's what we're doing wrong, here's what we're doing wrong, here's what we're doing wrong. It's in my, it's on my website, drkurtsteele.com. Try the 3-day transformation guide. Talk about what you're doing right for a change. And spend 3 days going over what do we do well. And let's spend a few days really concentrating on what we do well. And you'll be amazed at how that helps your culture. So, we talked about don't be working just to be working. I used to take admin days. I think admin days are a big waste of time, and I think you'll find a lot of unproductive time. The success to a successful business, if you're a doctor, is you see patients. If you're not in the exam room, you are not maximizing your potential. That is where the revenue is drawn, and that is what we have been trained to do. We are not trained to be office managers. I do not agree with this assessment that doctors. You should work on your practice, I guess, to begin with, but you work on it by putting systems in place and finding talented people to make it a business where they run it and you just kind of provide the guidelines or the guardrails, like the budget or the system of accountability. You got to have the mindset to compete. Coach Fulmer talked about, he wanted to call his team, what was it, the open date team. Like you hoped you had an open date after you played Tennessee because they beat you up so bad. If you're an optometrist, we're competing with the Walmart right next door to us, and we've got Costco's and all this stuff. And you have a little bit of a mindset that you are in competition, and you got to compete every day. And you do that by training and practicing and doing your absolute best to take care of your patients, and me also taking care of your team. And you got to instill confidence in your team too. And that's why, Coach Fulmer won a lot of close football games, because he instilled that confidence in his team. I'm going to bring up a young lady named Emily Ellison that used to work for me, and she's now like really high up at Walmart. And, I was proud of her to do that because, Walmart, they, offered her a good job to come over there as an optician. But I got to, brag on her a little bit because she she was very meek, and we almost even let her go a couple of times. It turns out she ended up being the best para-optometric in the South. She won the Southeastern Council of Optometry in Atlanta, best basically optometry employee. And the day that we turned it around, she came to me and said, "Dr. Steve, would you check this for me?" And I said, "Did you do it?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "I know it's right." And she said that was her big turning point. I showed confidence in her. You got to show confidence in your team. And Coach Fulmer's teams were fundamentally sound. And this is another one. Dr. Laurie Sorrenson's a dear friend of mine, but she once asked me that how I can afford to train so much. And I was like, I don't know how you can afford not to. Imagine if you coached a football team and when the regular season started, you stopped practicing. By the end of the year, you'd be one of the worst football teams in college football. You're still learning to tackle in week 9 and week 10. I mean, you're still training on the fundamentals. And to me, as an optometrist, training is practice and seeing patients is game time. Well, you can't just keep playing games over and over again. At some point, you got to stop and practice a little bit. So, to me, that's you got to keep working on the fundamentals. You got to be the example. I've often gone up and my techs get real busy sometimes, and I've gone up and prepared a patient myself. Molly said she saw me vacuuming the hallway not too long ago, and I've washed dishes. And don't ask people to do something that you wouldn't do. And anyway, I just learned so much from Coach Fulmer there. So I wanted to try to get all that in there. So it is time for my 2 junior partners, and once again, finding young talent and turning them loose. And I'm so blessed to have them. Dr. Emily Eisenhower first. Dr. Jeff Foster did so much for the profession of optometry, and Dr. Eisenhower is following in his footsteps. I left my notes at the other office where I thought I was going to be doing this from, but I can remember all this. Emily is the youngest president ever. This is all in the video. So I tell you what, it's 8:30. Becca, let's go ahead and play the Dr. Emily Eisenhower video, then I'll discuss it afterwards.
So, I want to go back into my live stream. So, tonight is all about the team. Matter of fact, my ghostwriter said, you got to be the only person that has 18 pages of acknowledgments ever in a book. That's because I've been so blessed to have great people around me. And man, I don't think there's anybody that represents that more than our next guest. So I guess I first really met you when I was 16 years old, and I asked you to scan all of our paper records into CompuLink. So
yep,
that was your first introduction into optometry, sitting around for hours on end, scanning paper records into electronic files. So
you got it. Yep.
This is Dr. Emily Eisenhower. She is my partner in practice, and I don't know how much introduction you need anymore. We brought her aboard, and we're going to talk about him maybe early and throughout. We might mention Jeff Foster's name more than I have in the rest of the thing, because that you and I are both, I think, sitting here where we're at because we joined his practice.
Absolutely.
And Jeff Foster, and this is a great segue into you. Jeff Foster, if there was a Mount Rushmore of Tennessee optometry, he would probably be the first person that we would have to chisel his face on there, because every victory we ever had, he was there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, except for this past one, which it's not official yet, but there's in 20 years, I think, when they say who's on the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee optometry, they're going to say Dr. Emily Eisenhower should be on there. She is past president. I dadgummit, was the youngest president ever for the Tennessee Association of Optometric Physicians until you beat me. But you cheated a little because I was the last one to do 5 years.
Yeah, right.
So you got to add a year. If you took away that year, I think I might still win.
You probably still won on that one.
I was the last one to be a treasurer and a secretary, not treasurer/secretary. And I was kind of the one that said, 5 years is an awful long time to do this. We can make it 4. So Dr. Lee, past president of Tennessee Association of Optometric Physicians, past Young Optometrist of the Year, both in Tennessee and Southeast for SECO. And I'm one of the most influential women in optometry, as voted by Vision Monday, one of the top 200 optometrists in the country, as by Newsweek, and current legislative chairperson for the Tennessee Association of Optometric Physicians. And on Wednesday, in the Senate Health Committee, there was an 8-1 vote in favor of a bill allowing us to do laser procedures. And this is the 4th legislative thing I've been through. And I've never seen an 8-1 win in that committee, or any committee for that matter. So that speaks a lot to your leadership and what you've done for the profession. And on just a personal note, I feel like I'm your optometric dad. And I think
Absolutely.
Dr. Foster would, I guess, also be your optometric dad. I don't know if he would have been old enough to be your optometric grandfather, but not only have you carried on the tradition of this practice, you have elevated this practice in a political sense, in a personal sense, and in a financial sense. Yeah, I just love you to death, and I'm so blessed to have you as a partner, and I'm so proud. There was no way I wasn't going to watch that Wednesday. I sat here through the whole thing because I was so proud of you, and to watch you sit there and watch them hear 8 yeses and 1 meek no from like an MD, which I can't. And by the way, we can't blame you. Even the one that voted against it kind of said, I have to do this, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to say much, and he didn't. I've never heard the man be so quiet, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
So it was really impressive to watch. So, Dr. Emily Eisenhower.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, I'm very, very blessed to have been offered a position in this practice from the get-go. Right when I started out of optometry school, I knew it was always a possibility that I was going to get to come home and practice with you and Jeff. And it was something that I'd always dreamed of doing. And it was just an honor to make that dream a reality. And, to watch you guys teach me all about how relationships really matter in every part of your life. Relationships matter in your home life, relationships matter in the legislative world, and relationships matter with your patients. You can't have good patient care if you don't have a relationship with them. And just to watch you guys treat people the way they needed to be treated in this practice in more ways than one is just an honor to be a part of. And I'm very proud of you for this. I know this is something that you've always dreamed of doing, and very proud and very honored that you would have me on here today, because I know this is a huge accomplishment and something that you've worked very, very hard on over the last 10 years, but really over the last year. I've watched you grind, from sun up till sundown on practice, and working with different offices, and then also working on you and working on making this dream a reality. So congratulations to you.
Well, but without you and Dr. Taylor, that book doesn't get written. And without Dr. Foster, that book doesn't get written.
Yeah.
So, it's there's a reason I got to bring you on here, and I'm making my live stream. I could have just done a quickly little live stream and talked about me, but first of all, the book is not about me. The book is about preserving independent optometry, but just also all the people that helped me get this done. And I want to talk about that a little further. You mentioned Jeff, and one of the things I mentioned to Dr. Taylor is his revenue per exam. He should have wrote that part of the book for me. It was much better than really anybody's. I mean,
Yeah.
he was just unbelievable. And I would always ask him, what's your secret? And he would always just say, well, Kurt, I just talk to him like I'm a good old country doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I can never get anything more out of him than that. But I guess that really was a secret. But you talk about relationships. The only tidbit I ever got out of him, and I still you don't know if you've ever heard me not say something and say something. I never say have a seat.
Mm-hmm.
I say make yourself comfortable over here. Jeff used to always say his big secret was I don't treat it like an eye exam. I treat it like they're coming to my house.
Right.
They are a guest of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just part of the people relationship that you're talking about. I just want to hear you maybe talk a little more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to people, we are very blessed because our patients love coming here. And I think it deals with, the culture of our team. And I think that's something that you and Jeff developed, and really I've never seen anything like it. How people want to come here and want to come to work and want to be a patient here. And it's so cool to actually see that and witness that and just understand how important it is and how much they trust you with their eye care. When we have to refer somebody out, they say, well, can you not do this? Can you not do this? Because I trust you and I want to stay here. I don't want to go somewhere else. And so it's just amazing how I just keep talking about just the culture of how you guys have made everybody feel is just, it's fantastic. And, just talking to people just like they're your friend, because they trust you.
They are. Your patients are your friends.
Yeah.
Jeff used to say that over and over again, and they could have chose to go somewhere else. And, by the way, speaking of Jeff, he would be very proud of you. That answer to that question is, can you not just do that here? We're going to be able to say yes a lot more.
Yes.
Here pretty soon because of your efforts and the efforts of others as well. But, you spearheaded that effort. So, I actually wrote an article called "Our Patients Come Second" in optometry, which is unheard of. But the addendum to that would be, as a team, our clinic, we definitely put patients first.
Hmm.
But us as the practice owners, the people we work with on a day-to-day basis, the moms, the sisters, the daughters, they want to go see their kids' ball games and all that. We as owners put them first, so they in turn, as a whole, put the patient together first. But I talk in the book about the team culture versus patient culture first. And it probably sounds crazy to a lot of doctors, but can you describe kind of what that looks like in our practice?
Yeah, and truly it sounded crazy to me right at first when you had discussed that, when I first came on, and because we always hear patient centered first, okay? And so that's obviously what we want, but if you don't put your team first, then they're not able to accomplish and take care of what the patient needs, because the last thing we want is our staff to be overwhelmed and maybe miss something in patient history, or we don't want them to feel burned out and have a negative attitude towards our patients. So our team's trained well, they're supported, and that we always make sure that they feel like their decisions are heard. And I think that's very important on having the team first approach, because they want to provide better patient care and they want to listen, and they become more engaged in learning. And I think that that's more beneficial than anything to help treat our patients and to make everybody feel like they're getting the best care possible. So, it's not about squeezing in every possible person. It's about making sure that, just like when we decided to close our evening hours, it was because people were missing games with their children, and we just did not want to have that. So when the team feels validated and heard, I think that it just makes overall patient care better.
Yeah, that was one of the moments of my career as a boss, when I felt the smallest.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the turning point when I came to you and said, "Okay, I'm ready to do the evenings ways." When I heard Jesse and Callie talking about who's going to miss their kids' ball game that night,
Yeah.
and I just thought, no, that life is just way, and after losing those three people and then hearing that, I thought life's way too short.
Absolutely.
And we actually started growing when we got rid of evening hours. We didn't go backwards; we went forwards. So, and speaking of growing, Dr. Taylor has referred to me as the Rain Man.
Hmm.
Uh, so lovingly, he did that on the previous interview, but I tend to be a little bit driven by metrics,
No.
just a tad.
Yeah.
And some doctors probably find that intimidating. Matter of fact, I put a definition section in my book because I had several of my cohort group. Sometimes when you talk, so I literally had to. I have a glossary in my book so people can go, "Oh, that's what he means."
Hmm.
But first of all, how has that been to work with somebody that's so, I guess, numbers driven? And then, how have having those numbers though, and how do you feel like that's helped us grow and make decisions and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm not numbers driven. I am starting to become that way because you have made me be that way. And just like you've told me before, and we always hear just get in there, see patients, and go, and take good care of them. But if we're not looking at the problems, then we're just continuing to do the same thing over and over. And I've heard it come out of your mouth more than a million times that if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're not going to grow and you're not going to get better. So looking at the numbers now, it's like, okay, if the capture rate's low, then we need to work on communication. Or, if revenue per exam's low, then maybe we're not spending enough time discussing the options with our patients. So it's helped to grow the business, because if you don't have those numbers, then you don't know what to grow. So that has been very important for me to learn just over the last year, and become more involved in the business aspect of it, because I just like to show up to work and get the job done and then leave. Well, that's not how it is when you own a business. So if you don't know why your schedule's not full because you've not looked at the numbers, then that's a problem. So I think that's the biggest, you being the Rain Man of metrics has helped us out in that aspect, because if you don't know what you don't know, then you can't grow.
Before you and Graham got here, if you'd have asked me the question, how did you grow so much? It was because we measured ourselves.
Right.
It's actually, even though I've interviewed him already, he's going after you. But Mark Murphy said it seems like the more people measure, the more they grow.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you measure, the more you grow. And I'll never forget this too. One time in a meeting, and it was back on Hedrick Drive, and I don't know if you would have been there or not, but we had a staff member in an office meeting, and it got a little awkward till Jeff saved the day. So I was up, going over, we show numbers to our team and say, here's where we stand, and here's how we pay you, and here's this and that. And somebody in one of our team members said, why are you always so much about the numbers, or why do you always run the business by the numbers? And it was kind of quiet for a few seconds, and then Jeff finally went, well, what are we supposed to run them by? Like, what else is there? Like, what are you talking about? Like, of course, if you're running your office of one of two ways, you're either running it with the numbers or you're running it with gut and emotion. Now, I'm not saying gut and emotion can't help with an occasional decision. I made the decision that I wanted to close evening hours on a gut emotion feeling, but because it was the right thing, it turned out to be a good financial decision.
Mhm.
But for the most part, running on gut and emotion is not going to be a good long-term strategy.
Right.
You got to use the numbers, and you got to make decisions based on fact, not on gut and emotion. So I guess that's, it's where, so before you and Dr. Taylor, I think the first thing that we did, and it's actually in the book, I've got that old 1999 sheet I've showed y'all a few times. I actually
Yes.
put it in the book. The first handwritten Google sheet was handwritten on letterhead, and we were hoping that we could, I think it was gross $480,000 and each take home 80. Like that was our big goal. Like we were just, man, if we could just do that, that would be great. So, but I still think probably the best thing I ever did was we brought you home. And you were the first one that I put through the process that's in my book. Like, we're interviewing you now, but we're going to make you a partner. And
Mhm.
this is the path. And you knew the path, and it was very transparent. You knew the buy-in number. You
Mhm.
knew everything. Take me through the thought process of when you first at that table at the Fox and Hound restaurant in Newport that we said we already know we want to make you a partner, and here's the path. What did you think, and what made you say yes? And then what did you think of partner? Well, you know what? Let's just do that question first. Like, when we first brought it to you, how did that hit you that we were like, here it is. This is the path. Here's the numbers. It's transparent. And we want you to be a long-term part of this practice.
Yeah. Well, it was, like I said, a true honor to even be asked to come back and practice here, but especially be offered a partnership. But almost this part of fear takes over because you know that you're sound clinically and you know that you have the education to be an optometrist, but you don't really have the business aspect of it. So I feel like the path to partnership helped me take that initiative because I don't know. I would have never started my own practice because it was a fear of mine because I didn't know the business aspect of it. And so it was something that I was very afraid of. So I think just knowing that I had you both there to help me out through that process, but also you go through that fear component of, I don't think I'm good enough in the business aspect. Well, that's something that you can learn. For the past 4 years, we've been focused on the eyeball and how it corresponds with the body and how we have all these systemic health issues that work with the eye. And we don't worry about the business aspect because we think you learn that as you go, which you do. But, to be offered a partnership just meant that you guys saw potential in me. And like I said, it was a true honor, but also the fear part came in and said, you can't do this. You can't do this because you don't know enough. But I knew you guys trusted me and I trusted you. And that's something that we've always been able to do is have that trust that if we mess up, we're going to mess up, and that's part of growing, and that's part of learning. But I think the path to partnership is what, if I had not had the dream of coming back here, that's what would have attracted me back because you were very transparent about my purchase price. You were very transparent about where we were as an office. And I feel like if a doctor can't be transparent about that, then just in the first initial meeting where they're going to offer you something, then I think that may be something that's a red flag. So now that I've watched this happen a couple of times, I see how beneficial it is to offer what you had developed with the path to partnership. And I think it's just like everybody else, I think it's an honor, but it's also overwhelming. And so we show, the profit and loss statement, and we show all that stuff. And so you kind of get the big eyes of, oh my gosh, I don't know what this even means. And so that's where I always come in and say, I was there too, and still am there sometimes. But, you just trust the process and you trust the people that you go into practice with. And if you don't have that, then you don't have anything.
I told myself this live stream was going to be mainly educational and entertainment. I didn't want to just make it about the book. But here's my one plug for the book that is the point of my book. And that's why I'm giving free books away at Seco to students is, I want this book to get some of that fear out. Like, here it is. This book isn't a textbook and it's not fear. It's not theory.
Yeah.
I mean, it is how we did it. It is how this practice evolved from a 6-figure practice to a multi-7, figure practice. So, that's the point. That's the point of the book is you could take this book and you could literally with that and some of the documents, which, I haven't even mentioned this in the whole other live stream. This is actually going to come early now. I even have a Circle community page where you can go and you can download all these spreadsheets and all these checklists, and you can basically you have the blueprint to do
Yeah.
this. And so, and that's the most important part to me in this book is keeping optometry independent and owned by ODs. So when we have lasers, we own the lasers. We're not just doing them for an ophthalmologist. We're doing them for our patients and for our practices.
Right. Right. And I think that when I read the book, I loved the glossary because there are still some times that I think, we talk about, okay, revenue per exam. And when we go over it in our local, local vision source meetings and stuff, it's sometimes you're like, okay, well, how do I even go back to revenue per exam? And we think that it's something that we should know because we should when we own a business. But I loved the fact that was put in there so that you could say, okay, hang on just a second. How do we calculate that again? And you can go right back to it. So I would highly advise every student to read that book because there is going to be a time in practice that you're going to have to make those decisions. And I think that's very important for you to know and get the firm foundation that you need as early as you can.
So I interviewed him later, Dr. Robert Layman. He's a past AOA president. He's vision source administrator. Now he is now chair of the AOA Center for Independent Practice. And I'm one of the smartest guys and most respected people. If you don't respect Dr. Robert Layman, there's something wrong with you because Robert Layman is Jeff Foster on a national level. I mean, what he has done for independent or optometry in general is unbelievable. As smart as he is, he's the one that looked at me and said, Kurt, sometimes you go right over my head. You need to have a glossary. You need to have definitions in that book. So when people read it, they go, oh, that's what he's talking about.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So, and I know how I want to ask this question, but something pops in my head. Like, I have a question written down I wanted to ask you is what would your life be like if you had joined another practice? But I want to even get a little more specific because I'm tearing up a little. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished so much more than me. Jeff is looking down and saying the same thing. Like, you've only been at this 10 or 11 years. Is that correct? 10 years, 11 years.
8.
2017?
2017. 9. Wow.
It goes by fast, Emily.
Guys, I know.
You've accomplished so much in 9 years. And you know what? I want to do something I know you would do and be modest, but would you be here if you had not joined Jeff Foster's practice?
No.
But may I go ahead and raise my hand and tell you that, I got his picture over there twice over my right shoulder. That's me and him up there. And then him and Annette Burney, who also did a lot for this practice, unfortunately has passed away. But, would I have been president of Tennessee Optometry if I was not Jeff Foster's partner at the age of 31? Absolutely not. So, I guess that is a good question is, if you had not joined an independent optometric practice that is also historically, like this is a 75-year-old practice that has been very politically involved and very active in optometry, how do you think your life would look like? And what's it like being in this practice that Nathan Ford, Bill Henry, Jeff Foster started 75 years ago?
So the first question is, I've always been a go-getter. I've always wanted to do as much as I possibly can. And, but I don't think I would have had the courage to step out, and I wouldn't have had the connections, number one, that you and Jeff had helped me to provide. And I wouldn't have understood the importance of being involved at the legislative level if it hadn't been for people like you both. That literally the first week of practice when I said, Jeff said, do you have plans for Thursday night? And I said, no. And he said, well, you do now because we're going to Smoky Mountain Optometric Society meeting because you're going to learn.
It wasn't a choice, was it?
No. And I said, okay.
It wasn't, do you want to go? It's like, here's when it is. Get in the truck.
That's it. It's time. It's time to stop in the car and I'll take you. And then you just realize the people that have set the foundation before you, and you might not have realized that importance if I wouldn't have realized that importance if I hadn't joined this practice. And I think to have people that have different avenues and different passions, you've got the business passion, and you've got the relationships and the business aspect that you need. And I just had 2 very successful people to look up to, and that I knew would take care of me and have my back no matter what. And you don't see that a lot in practices sometimes, and it's disheartening. And you just have to have that trust, and you have to have that love for one another, like they're your family, because you're going to see them a lot more than you see your family. And I think that that's just one of the main things that you guys helped to make sure of is, hey, I've got your back no matter what. I'll be here for you. You're going to mess up. We're going to deal with it together. You're going to make the wrong choice in practice. You're going to buy the wrong piece of equipment. You're going to, Jeff told us multiple times, don't buy this piece of equipment. Y'all won't use it. And we were like, okay, well, we're going to buy it because we think it'd, help patient care
He was
better.
right.
And then it becomes a giant paperweight that we pay a, loan payment on. But it's okay. It's okay to make those wrong decisions. And you guys really helped to get that environment going and make sure that you were going to be taken care of. I think that answers it, but I just.
It does. No, it does, because I'll tell you, our previous assistant executive director, Bridget, we were talking one day, and I don't know, this really sticks out in my head when you say that. And she said, of the really truly successful private practices in Tennessee, other than you guys, they're all families. They're the Cappermans. They're the Paul and Mormon and his dad Bud and Burnett's and Sullins. And she said, all these other practices that are really successful, they're family owned, other than you and Jeff. And my immediate response was, well, that's because we're like family.
Yeah.
And I really do trust him like a brother, and he trusts me the same way. We don't feel like we got to watch each other like a hawk. As a matter of fact, I do have some practices that as I'm trying to bring them together, like they're really insistent on this really long all this verbiage contract. I'm like, if you two feel like you really need this contract, like you have to have it, then maybe you shouldn't be partners.
Right.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but when we brought you aboard, Jeff and I didn't even have a partnership agreement.
Right.
Which doesn't sound great for somebody writing a book, but we had a thing where Jeff needed some money for his parents, and we transferred ownership from him to me so we could remortgage the building we were in, so we could keep his mom and dad in the house. And that's the kind of relationship we had. He was like family to me. We never really drew up a contract for it. So when we sold to you, I actually had 59% of the ownership, and he had 41 because we did that. And when they said, where's your agreement? I mean, it was literally a handshake.
Right.
I'm not saying that is a good idea, but what I'm saying is, if you don't have trust in the person you're going into practice with, then maybe you aren't a good fit for each other. And so that's a good point. So, what would you say to an associate? Well, you know what? Actually, you by the way, you've been so gracious to this. In typical Emily fashion, you were taking such good care of your patients today. You got a dinner to go to, and you're here about 30 minutes later than you meant to be. And so, I write in the book that we're not selling, we're winning. And that probably did, it's funny. Dr. Taylor earlier said, when I first heard that title, I wasn't crazy about it, but the more I've thought about it, like he says, I really like it because it means all this. But, it is about creating something people want to be a part of and not sell and keep saying. So, how do you feel like you've won? And, what does the book kind of mean to you as you read through it?
Yeah. And just like we were stating earlier, I truly feel like I've won, the lottery. I've won multiple things that you could ever win because I joined this practice. And, just like we were saying with the team culture, I feel like I win because I get to come to work every day in a place that people really love. And I feel, people's voices are heard. And I feel like that's very important. When you're an owner, you just go about the day-to-day things, and you just make sure that you get the patients happy, and you just make sure that you get all your people happy, and then you're out the door and you do it again tomorrow. And if you don't know that, they know more that goes on throughout the day-to-day practice than we do, because we are just in an exam room most days getting people, in and out and taking care of patients. And if they don't feel like they can come to you for anything, I feel like you're not winning. So that's where I feel like our practice is definitely winning. And then I get to serve patients, and I get to serve the community that helped shape me and make me the person that I am today. And I'm just very thankful for the opportunity 9 years ago when y'all set me in the room in the back of the Fox and Hound in our normal booth that we make all of our big decisions in. And I'm very thankful that you guys allowed me to build, work on myself, work on the practice. And again, it comes back to trust. And I think that that's where we're all very blessed that we have that. This isn't something that often happens in healthcare, like we said, and it's, people love it here, and we're very blessed to be a part of the community in Newport for as long as we have been. And, like I said, I'm just very proud of you, and I'm very proud of the person that you are in helping so many practices. And you've taken practices from, nothing to very successful. And I think that they've got a great mentor in you, just like I did, and a great mentor in Jeff, just like I did. And so I'm very proud of you again, and love you, and very thankful for the person that you are.
Well, we'll wrap it up with that. But you actually literally said 4 things there. Very, I mean, and you're wise beyond your years, which is why at a young age you're already got all these awards. Number one, first of all, and I'm going to not only just play this on my professional social media, but I am going to put it on my personal page. I'm proud to be from Cocke County, Tennessee. I'm proud to be from Newport, Tennessee. I've been here 30 years now, and this community has been unbelievable to me, and I would do anything for it.
Yeah.
You grew up here, and I've actually had more than one person tell me about you and me, how, because Newport is known for moonshine, which, by the way, Mark and Digger are 2 of my favorite people, and the Moonshiners is a great show. Check it out on the Discovery Network. They actually have the Master Distillers too, which is like Master Chef with moonshine. It's unbelievable. It's great. But I've had people say, it's kind of cool that we are, Newport's becoming known for something more than moonshine. And it's, I've had people from Newport say, I was in Phoenix, Arizona. David Perryman said this, and I met 2 people on a bus, and they knew the optometrist in Newport, Tennessee, and the practice they were in. And it's one of the best known practices in the country. And it is, but that started with Jeff Foster. And then you and I have just kind of continued it. But, without Cocke County and Newport's support, we're nothing.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm very proud to be from here. And we need to thank our community for that, because this practice is not this successful if we do not have the support of our patients.
Yeah.
You said you get to come to work. You don't have to go to work. You get to come to work.
Mm-hmm.
On fun Fridays. And you said something else really heard too, that staff needs to be heard. When I did a cohort study, I had 30 optometrists help me with the book. I asked 30 optometrists, what is your biggest pain point? And 27 out of 30 of them said staff. Can't find good staff. But then I interview the staff before I go do a on-site transformation. And I asked the team, what's your issue? I wish I was heard. I see the patient more than the doctor, and I have a lot of great ideas. I wish they would listen to me. And I really want a family fun atmosphere.
Yeah.
Every decision we make in our office, me and you don't decide it. We go to the team and we ask.
Yep.
And we put the team first, and we listen to them, and we take their ideas and we implement them. And that's the way you build a place where they get to come to work. They don't have to go to work.
Yeah.
So, you made me proud there, because you really reiterated a lot of what the book's about. So, just in closing, I'm honored to have you on here. And, Dr. Emily Eisenhower, I don't know what, the future holds, but it holds probably whatever you want it to hold, because, just you're an even better person than you are an optometrist. And that's a very high bar.
Thank you.
And you can't fake that. And, I think you and I both, I'll brag on us a little. I think one of the reasons we're successful is we genuinely do care, and we love our team. We love our patients, and you can't fake that. And
Right.
so all this comes from a place of, first of all, being thankful to God for giving us these blessings.
Yes.
And then just being thankful for our patients and thankful for our team, and really just wanting to do what's best by them. So
Yeah.
With that, I really cannot wait to see what the next 5, 10, 15 years of your career looks like, considering the trajectory you're on right now. And now you got to go to a big, important meeting in Pigeon Forge. So I thank you. And thanks for coming and doing this for me.
Thank you. And looking forward to your book launch next week.
Yeah, Tuesday. Absolutely. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Love you, Emily.
Love you too.
Wow. So y'all can see why our practice is doing so well. Bringing Emily home is just one of the best things we ever did. And, just a few things I want to mention with her. She talked about relationships matter. Dr. Foster saying, it's not an eye exam, it's a home visit. Relationships matter to our team, with our patients, with our community. And we're proud to be from Cocke County. We're proud to be from Newport, Tennessee. Anybody watching from Newport, we appreciate your support. And we do have a nationally known practice. I mean, it's just I'm proud to say that, but we do because of the support of Cocke County, and we appreciate all of you, and we love you. Emily mentioned team first again. You see that's a very common theme. We don't want to overwork our team. We don't want to just to burn them out. Doing the evening hours and weekends is not the answer. You build a culture where people will want to come to you from 9 to 5. I would rather have patients that want to come see me at 3 o'clock because of how good we are instead of because I'm open at 6. And it was listening to Callie and Jesse talk about who's going to miss their kids' ball game. That really was a huge moment when I changed. You're running another totally different topic, but you're either running your practice one of two ways. You're either doing it with numbers, you're doing it with gut and emotion. And I will tell you that gut and emotion can give you an occasional good decision, but for the most part, you got to use the metrics. You got to use the numbers. And Emily's learned that. And Emily talked about too. I often hear that my generation, we can't find young doctors that want to own practices, and we can't get them to come here. But yet, you interview young doctors, and a lot of them do want to own practices. And, I'm very transparent with both Dr. Taylor and Dr. Eisenhower. The path to partnership was set day one. And they knew what they had to do to make it successful, and they both made it incredibly successful for them and me. One of my dad's favorite sayings, you'll hear me talk about my dad often. Here's his picture again. But one of my dad's favorite sayings was, if one side loses, both sides lose. I never negotiate. I'm not a negotiator. When I come at somebody with a deal or a negotiation, or I'm trying to get, two doctors to come together in a practice, I'm not negotiating. I'm not leaning one way or the other. I'm trying to get both sides to win. When both sides win, that's the only way everybody wins. So, Emily also talked about the trust. You got to be able to trust your team. You got to understand, mistakes. Your team's going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. But one of my favorite sayings I love to say to people is, there is a surefire way to never make a mistake. It's 100% works every time. And the 100% way to never make a mistake is to do nothing. So if you have somebody that never makes a mistake, they're probably not doing much. So the people that are making mistakes are the ones that are working hard to take care of you. And you got to learn how to just understand that we're all going to make mistakes. We're going to learn from them, and we're going to move forward. Emily mentioned too, we just try to make it a place that people love to work at. They don't have to come to work. They get to come to work. We try to do that over and over again. So, like Dr. Eisenhower, I want to thank everybody in Cocke County and Newport, and also in Greenville, Tennessee, because Greenville has really grown as well. And that moves us on to our last guest, but certainly not the least, because this is a really, really unusually talented young man that has put together a great team in our second location. It's grown it fourfold, basically in 4 to 5 years. We got to hear from Gloria Kaufman sooner. And Becca, go ahead and cue up Dr. Graham Taylor. And this will be the last video. Then we'll comment on that, and we'll close for the evening. Once again, thank you for joining my live stream. So, we're talking about the team that we put together here, and there's no way that I could have this live stream and not include Dr. Graham Taylor. Back in 2020, 2019?
Me follow you and learn, and also appreciate you writing this book. I mean, I really
that we put together here, and there's no way that I could have this live stream and not include Dr. Graham Taylor. Back in 2020, 2019, 20. So Dr. Taylor was an extern in our office, and Dr. Jeff Foster, Dr. Taylor, we may go and even just talk about him early, since I'm going and bringing him up, is Dr. Jeff Foster, who would be on the Mount Rushmore of Tennessee optometry. In fact, he'd be first. I don't think anybody would argue that, even though our junior partner, Dr. Eisenhower, is trying to warm her way on there. But Dr. Jeff Foster, who he was set in his ways, and usually externs he would come get them when we saw something cool. But other than that, he didn't really want to deal with externs a lot. One day he came and got Dr. Taylor, and he said, "Hey, I want to show him something," and I hardly ever saw you again. And I'll never forget your last day here. He came to me and said, "This is a little earlier than I anticipated, but this is the guy that's going to replace me. And if I've even got to slow down, I don't care, but this is it. This is the person that we want." And he was right, because Dr. Taylor, we bought a second location, and even and actually you've done it. I keep saying 5 years. It's kind of 4, because unfortunately, because we didn't know if this could be a 4-doctor practice. It turns out it could be, but we didn't know at the time. We bought the Greenville location to put you there, and then unfortunately Dr. Foster passes away. And you got to stay here for a year and kind of fill his role, which you did fantastically. So really, you didn't get to Greenville, and you've grown it 4-fold, really without much of my help at all, at least on a micro level. And Dr. Graham Taylor is, graduate of Sonora College of Optometry, and just, I see you writing a book in 5 to 10 years, but it would be, if I left you out, it would be incredibly disingenuous, because a lot of the reason I could write that book is what you've done in the Greenville location with Gloria, who we're also going to talk to later. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, and it's a blessing to have you as a part of this practice. And you are a big reason for my success, and that's why I have 18 pages of acknowledgments, and you're in there, is because I have had a lot of help and been blessed to be surrounded by a lot of people. And you've done an amazing job there, and I just want to welcome you to the live stream.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the opportunity. It's you give me way too much credit. And yeah, and honestly, what you said right away, it all started with working with Jeff. Just how instantly just incredible he is.
Talk about, your first impressions of the practice and, working with Jeff, first of all, and then maybe what it meant when we lost him. And then, what's different about our practice now than maybe when you came out of school, and just talk about that.
Yeah. So, back in 2019, I got to do an extern with you guys. And I've worked for optometrists in the past, just being, technician and front desk and all that good stuff. So I kind of had an idea how things would go, but it far exceeded any expectation that I thought in my head. Because I thought you just would show up, you do exams, you leave. But when I walked into y'all's practice, things just felt homely. The kind of care that patients got there was different than anything else I've ever seen. It just seems so organized and like just genuinely patient focused. The patients, when you would walk into an exam room, they'd be happy to be there. It's like they were going to a friend's house, which I've never experienced in my, my entire life. And so I just instantly learned that, not only were you guys special, but just the patients of East Tennessee also are just something incredible in their own. It's been an incredible experience. I can't thank you guys enough for the experience, and I appreciate, you being so kind and generous with your words. I do want to clarify, I wrote 0 words in that book that you're selling, but I appreciate the acknowledgement. But yeah, back when as an extern, and Dr. Foster, he'd always try to, butter me up just because he was that kind of guy. Day one of meeting him, like you would instantly feel like you were the center of his world. He was so nice. Him and I shared a lot of commonalities. We loved good bourbon, a good, thick steak, and good football, and
goodness,
hunting as
those
well.
Three things, yeah.
Yeah, constant things to think about, talk about, and share. Outside of finally getting into the weeds of things with you and like the metrics and how you made these things successful, you and Jeff both, and Emily. It was just a fun time. And then we really got down to business and kind of saw how it worked.
Okay. Well, I got to address 2 things here. I always write down things. By the way, it's amazing. I'm 56 and you're in your mid 30s and been doing this 6 or 7 years. And I learned from you. And then, by the way, I would tell, the day you stop learning is a very sad day. First of all, no, you didn't write a word of that book, but you represent 35% of that number that's on the cover. I just did that really quick on my calculator to make sure I was right about that. So, you've been here 6 years and you're already doing 35% of the work and the revenue, and, your work ethic is unbelievable. This is the guy that would land from Japan on midnight and see patients on Monday morning. I'll never forget that. I wonder how. I'll just look for the fun of it. Like, I wonder how late he's going to sleep in, or if he's even, going to take. Nope, landed at midnight in Knoxville or Tri-Cities or wherever you flew into, and you're at it. You're by far the highest paid doctor in our office for a reason. You work the hardest. You said something about Jeff that to this day I never tell anybody have a seat. I always say make yourself comfortable. I never say have a seat over there. I always say make yourself at home. Or Jeff used to always say, it's not an eye exam. Act like they're visiting you at your house. Yes. And his exam per revenue was much higher than mine, much like yours is. And I think that was a big reason. And I would tell him, I'd say, Jeff, what's your secret? And he would always just say, I just talk to him like an old country doctor, and I act like they're visiting my house. Make yourself comfortable. Jeff never said have a seat. He would say make yourself comfortable. And maybe expand on that a little, because you saw him with his patients, and he was. I still have to cry once a week because it's over 5 years later, and I am still getting patients that are just now coming in that they say, I didn't think I could come back here because it's so sad, and I love Jeff, and I'm sorry that it took me this long. I'm just now getting back. So we'll
Mhm.
expand on that just a little bit more with Jeff.
Mhm. Yeah, it's exactly what you said. I mean, it was it became a home away from home. He was just like, I mean, it sounds silly to say out loud, but he was an East Tennessee boy that, I mean, if you met him, you'd love him.
Right.
And I never, heard him say those words. I mean, I only got to know him for about a year and a half, but in those short term, we spent a lot of time together. And I actually have, I don't think I ever told you this, but quite a few of his patients followed me up here to Greenville because I was doing exams with him and then took over for him. And they just wanted to, come over here. And I catch myself saying things just like he says. And like, not exaggerating, this lady last week, she poked her head out from behind the slit lamp. She says, "You talk just like him." And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing anybody has ever said. I knew who she meant without even saying it.
Right.
So yeah, he just kind of
No,
had that
well,
effect on people.
Hey, they're still in my practice. That's great.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. And I had a little
Yeah.
bit of Amy and I had a little bit of an emotional moment today too, because his first cousin came in here, and
Really?
dresses like him, looks like him, sounds like him. It was kind of like, oh my gosh. Like so anyway, and
That's
Amy,
amazing.
of course, has been here 26 years. Interviewed her with Molly. So,
Hmm.
the culture you stepped into, kind of the team first concept.
Mhm.
Did you see that right away, or did it take time? And how's that influenced how you do things there in Greenville? Because I got to bring this up. When you first got there, it seemed like it was kind of turnover, and all of a sudden, like
Mhm.
3 to 4 years ago, it just stopped. And your
Mhm.
turnover stopped, and you've got this great team, and you're growing, and you're growing, and you're growing, and just talk about the culture that you have not, and it's all you and Gloria. We'll talk about Gloria some too, but the
Mhm.
culture and how you're doing things there in Greenville and the growth that you've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, going to the Newport practice, I mean, it was instantly noticeable. Just the way, not only that, every office, they want to make the patient feel welcomed. I mean, if it's not that case, you're missing out on meeting some great people. But it really shined through when it came to working with the staff, and how staff treated other staff members. And I really think that did start at the top. And it was noticeable at first, but it wasn't until a few months to maybe a year later that I found it wasn't accidental. It was kind of intentional. I mean, almost like a protected thing in the office space. And so I tried to take that and implement it in the Greenville location. Because I mean, when you get down to it, I mean, 40 plus hours a week with people you work with. I mean, that's more time than you spend at home almost. So why not treat them like family members? And I mean, if you're kind of like the whole happy wife, happy life, if my wife's happy, I'm happy.
Very
So if my
true.
staff's happy, I'm happy. And it just really changed the culture around here, just making sure that everybody here felt welcome, felt supported. I keep an open door policy constantly. So, I mean, not only so they feel comfortable, but like I'm learning and adapting every day of like how they learn, how they feel supported, how they feel comfortable. And they can never hesitate to come to me with any issues or questions. And it just really blossomed from there. I mean, yeah, we did have some turnover a little bit at first, but I think we really, came out the other end really well. We're not finished by any means. I mean, I think we're still growing and getting better. I mean, but that's all about, working in an optometry practice. You got to adapt, improvise, and get better every single day.
So I want to bring this up. So I never
Mhm.
forget that one of the few times I've been there. By the way, I'm also going to apologize to you on air that I really have been very hands off. I think you would agree when it comes to Greenville. But one of the reasons I've been kind of hands off is you didn't need my help. Like I maybe have been there 10 times, and
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely count on two hands the number of times I've been in that office. And you can probably, if you blew things off one hand. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's because but one of the times I went to stop by there, it was like 30 minutes after closing. So I thought, well, I can just kind
Mhm.
of look around. I just happened to be in Greenville. Well, the whole team's still out in the parking lot just talking.
They're
So
still right now, and it's an hour after closing.
it's like,
We had somebody pull in 30 minutes ago and like, hey, can I pick up my glasses? And we went and got them, but they were like, oh, we're just hanging out, but sure, why not?
I mean, your
They
team
love
hangs
spending
out
time
like
with each other.
in a time where if you ask 30 optometrists, and this is not hypothetical, this happened to me. Ask 30 optometrists, what is your biggest pain point? And 27 out of 30 say it's my team, and they don't get
Mm.
along, and the culture, and this and this. You've got team members an hour after closing are still just out there hanging out, and it's Friday. It's
Uh-huh.
Friday. The week is over.
Mm-hmm.
You got to try to expand on that for us a little bit. And
Yeah.
how did you what have you done to help facilitate that culture? And why do you have a team that literally they truly are family? I mean, it is very cliche that everybody says they're family, but I want you to think
Mm.
about it. Would your team be hanging out an hour after closing time on Friday right now? And Douglas is. And honestly, I don't know. I can't say that about my team. So, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on here is for somebody that's only been doing this 4 to 5 years, just hearing some of the things you say about giving credit to other people, you're really wise beyond your years. But I want to just expand on the culture there and just, how you think you've brought that on, because the culture does start at the top. So whether you realize it or not, it starts with you. So I just want to hear that.
Yeah. I think it all just comes down to trying to make a healthy, positive environment. Because, I mean, if it's a negative environment, it'll be a negative day. I mean, you can always find the negative in a situation, but I try to implement everybody here that I always try to look towards the positive, even when people are frustrating. But I mean, I think it was your idea a few years ago. We would take like a quarterly fun Friday where we shut for a whole day and take everybody to Top Golf or, bowling, some arcade, or just go do something fun for a day. We call it staff training, but we're, having fun.
Yeah.
And then, so we've been doing that for a few years, and then it just kind of started, getting better and better from there. But I think yes, it is taking care of your team and making sure that they feel important, but it's also finding the right people for their position. Because if you can find somebody that feels like ownership in what they're doing, I think they're going to be more fulfilled. They're going to be happy to be there. And then as long as you improve your staff efficiency, as long as they want to be there, want to do better, I mean, that's when your numbers and the metrics and everything really starts to come around, and it just slowly shows itself. But I mean, it's still, a daily battle. But I mean, honestly, I don't think it's anything that I did. I think I'm just incredibly lucky because everybody that we have is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I could talk about each individual person here for 30 minutes by themselves. But
Feel free to at least name them because they do deserve that.
Oh yeah. So this is kind of how I like to describe people, or the folks that come to us. Like when you walk in our doors, I mean, the most important thing is first impression. Every single person here has been to some PCP appointment, dentist appointment, any appointment, and you walk in and you just get the cold shoulder. They're just like, "What do you want?" or "What can I do you for?" And so like we've got Hannah and Tony, two wonderful people. You walk in, there's a big smile, big beautiful smile, and it's a warm welcome, and you just can't help but feel, I mean, just relaxed and at home, and you don't really want to leave them. Sometimes we got to drag people from the front desk because they just want to talk to them the whole time. But we got appointments to do. So then seamlessly, Tasha or Brooke will go over there. They'll grab them and take them to that, dark room where that everyone looks forward to, the infamous air puff test. We got that really bright flashing light, when you stare at the sun too long. And then they still make them feel welcomed. I mean, they're just surrounded by just positive people, and it's fantastic. So by the time I go in there, in the exam room, they got a smile on their face. They're happy to be there. They're just having a good time. And I hear constantly how people just feel at home when they come in here and they look forward to coming back. Like, who looks forward to coming to get their ears blasted with air and lights? But by the time, they finish with me and I finish telling them that their Mountain Dew is not their breakfast food, I'm sure their grandparents had cataracts. Yeah. And I get to take them out to the optical. They get to see Haley. They get to see Allison, who's always just super nice and just takes care of them. They get top tier. recommendations, and I mean, just the best level of care for any of their needs. But yeah, and we do. I do want to bring up Gloria for sure. She's the hidden workhorse. I mean, she's not in the optical. She's not at the front desk or the pre-test. But if you put her anywhere there, it's going to get done quickly, efficiently, and correctly. I mean, she is wonderful with patients. I wish she could, see them more, but she's busy putting out fires inside and outside the office, and does our insurance. She's fantastic at that. She's always positive. So when I say it is not me that's making this place a success, it really isn't. It's just the people I get to work with. I mean, I truly, truly cherish and enjoy every single one of them. And I look forward to, being with them Monday through Friday, every single week. I always look forward to it.
But I would say, though, you've allowed that to blossom, though, so don't sell yourself short. But I agree that I feel the same way here, is that we really have a great team here right now. And it's just a little bit of it is just being fortunate. And going to talk to Gloria later, but just for historical perspective, she's the one that's been there since I bought the place.
Mm-hmm.
Tasha too, I think. Who else?
Tasha started in 2018, but yeah, Gloria's been there since I would probably say the 90s.
It was kind of a deal breaker that because Gloria was the niece of the person that owned it, we bought it from. And honestly, if Gloria was going to leave, I seriously we wouldn't have bought it. Like it was kind of okay, is Gloria staying? It was kind of part of the deal. And yeah, she is just that's why I can't wait to interview her later today, because she is amazing. And the book starts with the team, because you can have the greatest metrics in the world and you can be great in the exam room. If you don't have the team's the foundation. If you don't have a great team, the other two parts of the book are kind of worthless. So but you've taken a location and grown it over fourfold in a matter of 5 years. So just a couple of things you did, and what's something that maybe I did help you with, but maybe more importantly, because I'm giving you credit here, you've done 99.9% of this, you and Gloria, just allowing you guys to run free basically, and just take advantage of your talent. What's maybe something that you figured out on your own that wasn't in the playbook, or wasn't something I taught you?
I mean, I just try to listen to people who have done it before and been successful. And I can only speak from personal experiences, but working with you guys, you're a numbers guy, you're a metrics guy. Any single person that's ever met you knows that you are like Rain Man. You are Rain Man with numbers. You just see them spinning all around your head constantly. And then you just blurt things out, and then we're like, oh, that's probably true. Sure. I don't have a calculator on hand, but when I started, I'd look at Emily like, is he going schizo on us right now? And she's like, no, this is his normal. Like, he's contained right now. So it always worked. You're always correct. So implementing the metrics, making sure those were in order. And at first I did not really understand it. I was, exposed to, profit and loss and balance statements and all that good stuff, but really didn't know how it applied to everyday business. But just, being around you, listening, taking notes, paying attention, and then actually following myself on a day or weekly basis, it started to make sense. Because you would say, you got to look at the numbers. They don't lie. Numbers do not lie. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, we got to make money to, to work, duh. But it really was like, oh, well, this has to work this way so that this can work this way. And then when it comes down to it, if you don't follow the metrics and don't stay on top of it, you're either going to sink or swim. You can't provide like proper and top tier patient care unless you are at a healthy level of your numbers.
Oh, wow. That's a great statement. I had never really heard it put that way. That's amazing. Probably one of my favorite moments in my career, and this was actually I know it was a long time ago, because it was in our previous building, not even this one. So it's been at least more than 10 years ago, but we had a team member that tended to be a little negative. And we were doing an office meeting, and she asked the question, and I've never even write quotes on this: why are you always about the numbers? Like, why are we always running this business by numbers? And it was kind of awkwardly silent for a few seconds. And then Jeff said, quote, what else are we supposed to run this with?
Yeah.
And Jeff was not a numbers person at all. He let me do all that.
Yeah.
He didn't care. But now he did so much other stuff but I just, yeah, I mean, there's only two ways to run it. It's by the numbers or not by the
Mm-hmm.
numbers. And now you're running on gut and emotion, and gut and
Mm-hmm.
emotion might give you a few good decisions, but it's not a
Yeah.
good long-term strategy. So,
Yeah.
our gut and emotion, I'll let you talk about this a tad. We're about to build a new office in Greenville, which definitely Greenville needs the space.
Mm-hmm.
But then as the building costs went up and everything, looking at the metrics, I think stopped us from maybe making a very bad decision.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Many sleepless nights, because I mean, it's so easy to look at past success and apply them to future endeavors and just think it's going to work out. But why risk the care for your patients? Why risk the comfort of your staff to possibly make a few bucks? I mean, yeah, we all want to triple our size before sunrise and, get more cheeks and chairs. But at the end of the day, if the numbers don't make sense, if it's not
Yeah.
something that, you can go home and feel comfortable with,
So-
it just not doesn't, it's not smart. And
So
could it
just the
work?
general
Probably.
the general statement is when we started this project, the cost
Mhm.
we thought it was going to be, we would have had to have doubled the size of
Yes.
Greenville, which is
Yeah.
okay. And I thought we could do that pretty quickly. But then as the cost went up all of a sudden, we would have had to have tripled the size of Greenville
Mm-hmm.
to justify the note. And that
Mm-hmm.
would take a lot of pain. As I travel this country, I would actually tell you that the secret killer to a practice on the expense metric side of thing is occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen you do not want to pay more than 6 to 8% of your overall revenue in rent. That's a very important point for anybody watching.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going to build if you're going to build or expand, what you got to do is figure out your monthly cost. And is that going to be 8% or below of what you project as your overall revenue? And if it's above that, you better very seriously look at whether you should do that or not. And so we were going to be, in the beginning, we were going to be, 14, 15% rent. And
Mm-hmm.
that would have been very, very difficult. So, using the metrics to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what you do. So I appreciate you for that. And so we're still going to expand. We changed the plans because the numbers
Mm-hmm.
say so.
Just
Um,
pause a bit.
so if what does it mean to you that and maybe the process a little too, that you are a partner in this practice, and you actually never really were an associate? Like we really had your plan to partnership
Mm-hmm.
was mapped out from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just talk about, first of all, what that meant that we said, hey, Graham, here, like this is your path. And then what
Mm-hmm.
it's like to be a partner in a practice, especially a very, very successful one, only 5 years into your career.
Yeah, because being a partner, part owner, has always been a dream of mine, no matter like what I ended up doing. Because yes, ownership is nice to say and has a nice little ring to it, but I mean, it really means like financial ownership, but also like emotional ownership. I mean, I enjoy the thought of like discussing all this stuff with you guys, like picking your brain and also putting my input in on things to try and help shape the culture that we want to develop and where we want to see this business go. I mean, I like to have try to have a little bit of an impact on the team, the community, and our patients. And it's more of just me being grateful for the opportunity than me thinking I can actually do it. Because I want to learn every day. I want to get better. I want to adapt. I want to see how success works and then try to make it work for myself.
I say this because that's, like I said, just how wise you are. Like I find myself I almost want to run through a wall for you. Like you should have been a coach. Well, it's all about how grateful you are.
Oh.
And yeah, I think God's blessed me, and
Hmm.
it's a blessing to come to work. And when you start from a position of generosity and gratefulness, and just how blessed you are, and that's your beginning point, it makes this a whole lot easier. And
Mm-hmm.
you haven't talked about yourself at all. I keep trying to get you to do that, but you're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about your, and by the way, and for people in the audience, like you can't fake this. Like you can't fake being Dr. Taylor, who cares so much about his team. So it's a blessing for me to have you in place like this. And I think just because it's just the person you are. But I think most doctors are like you, and they just struggle with the metrics and how to build the team culture. And that's what, kind of the book is for, and the coaching company and all that. So, to kind of wrap it up, when we say we're not selling, we're winning,
Mm.
what does that mean to you?
I'm going to be honest. Yeah. The first time you told me this was going to be the name of the book, I was like, what is he talking about? But I was like, let me chew on it. Let me think about it. We went back and forth on some things. But the more I really thought about what it meant, what it means to like the company, what it means to me, what it means to you. I like it because you could apply it to so many facets of our profession. I mean, how we practice every single day, how we approach improving patient care and clarity by, yeah, selling them products and accessories, but how we make decisions inside and outside the office. I mean, and what we ultimately want to see, our business to become. Because I mean, it's more than just pushing products. It really is like creating an outcome. And um, I just kind of fell in love with it because I mean, when it comes down to it, when the patients trust you, when your team performs well, I mean, that's huge. I mean, the practice eventually grows. I mean, that really is not selling anything. I mean, that's winning, you, me, everybody. Because we're optometrists. It's all about, I mean, service, integrity. I mean, believing what we're doing, how we're helping people. Because I'll end that rant with, I'll say my ultimate goal is, I mean, as well it is yours, is the day when it comes when I permanently hang up the white coat. I'm not passing this practice down to any individual or an entity, but passing it up to a group of well-rounded and hungry ODs ready to push proper ethics and morals and elite patient care for everybody who steps foot in our offices.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add that you have not had an opportunity to before we close?
I once again appreciate everything that you've done for me, and I appreciate you letting me follow you and learn. And also appreciate you writing this book. I mean, I really did enjoy it. I think everybody's going to love it.
Well, you're like my optometric son, and I mean, I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
You've listened. I don't think I get to write this book without you, or it's not going to be the little catchy subtitle does not exist without you, not even close. Now, I think everybody just saw in this interview why you're so successful, and honestly, I think it's just because you're you. But you give the glory and the credit to everybody else around you. That's in the book. I think you just really in the, I guess, about 30 minutes we talked, the I, we, y'all leadership. That's in the book. Like, you shoulder the blame and give out the praise. Like I could see you doing that with your team on a day-to-day basis. And I see why the culture's so great there, and it's Glory and it's you. And I appreciate you coming on today, and I'm blessed to have you as a partner in our practice. And I look forward to when I'm 81 that we're going to be celebrating the 100-year anniversary and what our practice looks like then.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much again. I look forward to seeing your success through this book.
All right. Thank you, Graham.
All right. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Take care.
See ya.
One thing that strikes me, and Dr. Taylor's still relatively young and early in his career, and he's given credit. He's given credit to Glory. He's given credit to his team. He named a team member in that interview and made sure that they were heard. And I hear that often when I talk to team members. What you want to be recognized, you want to be heard, and Dr. Taylor's really doing a good job of that. And the Greenville team deserves to be heard, and because they are a very high performing group. He looks forward to coming to work. And he's built a culture where people look forward to coming to work. You've heard that over and over again. And yeah, I'm a little schizo with numbers, Graham. So if you're out there, apologies. But the going schizo with the numbers, to me, one of the top 3 to 5 reasons our practice is so successful is, and it's going to be tomorrow. And this actually turned out to be the great end to a day, because tomorrow, and if you're on here, I would share the link for tomorrow. Tomorrow is truly about business. So tonight has been about the team building, which is part 1 of the book. Part 2 of the book is metrics. And we have a great lineup tomorrow night. And Dr. Taylor, so many good things. I could stay on here another 30 minutes, but I've been on here over 3 hours already, so I think I'll kind of wrap it up. But Dr. Taylor, out of all the smart things he said, I really loved. He said you can't take good care of your patients if your practice is not. So if you're in your office worrying about if you can make payroll, or can we, or if you're struggling as a business, it makes it hard to take care of your patients. And I never, really thought of that or had heard that put that way. And that is really quite a profound statement to me. Is the healthier your practice, the better care you take care of your patients, the better your culture, the healthier your team, the better care you take care of your patients. So putting your business, and on a pedestal, and especially me putting your team on a pedestal, ends up everybody wins. We're all winning. We're all winning. Patients are winning. My team's winning, and Dr. Taylor and Dr. Eisner, Dr. Norris and I are winning. So we're not selling. We're winning. So tomorrow night, we're going to start off with two people that without them, I wouldn't have written the book. If you're thinking of writing a book, I would make sure I was there about 5:10, 5:15 tomorrow night. Because if you're going to write a book, boy, have I got the people for you. Amber Vilhauer and Aiden DePrima. They're with NG Enterprises, No Guts, No Glory. Lots of great stuff there. Then Mark Murphy, a best-selling, Forbes has ranked him a #1 financial advisor. I just happened to meet him at a meeting. So fortunate. He's written 3 books. He's about to write a 4th. It's the first one I talked to about writing a book. And he and Michael Wasick, who's Mark's, I don't want to say assistant. They work together, but Mark's the CEO. But they have a lot of great information tomorrow night. And then probably the 2 people that I think I have learned more practice management metrics. So if y'all want to know how I get schizo on metrics, blame Laurie Sorrenson, blame Mickey Kling. Those 2 are on tomorrow night. Going to have a lot of great content there. Then my first client ever, Dr. Reshma Mann, who actually she's in my book because I stole a couple of things from her. She's brilliant. And I'm kind of proud of the fact that my first client is still a friend. That's a good sign. So then also Brittany Shower, a current North Dakota Optometric Association president. So serving our community, serving our profession. Very honored to have her. Dr. Amir Khoshnevis, the chief medical officer and president of Vision Source. Robert Layman, ending with him. I cannot think of anybody in this profession I respect more and like. I told him, there's people you respect, there's people you like, and he's like really high on both lists for me because he's likable, he's the real deal. He's served our profession at the highest level as AOA president. He is now chairing the Center for Independent Practice for the American Optometric Association. So he is a great person to have on. And then we're going to end it with the girl of my dreams, Stacia Steele. And, I know it sounds cliche, but I swear it is not cliche. I would not be half of where I'm at if not for her. And so, yes, I am going to wrap up my show with Stacia. And actually, I told her it's kind of hot. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that on air, but she knocked it out of the park. Like, she really gives a lot of great ideas and a lot of great concepts and a lot of great information. So I was just bringing her on to tell her I love her and thank her. And she knocked it out of the park. I'm really looking forward to ending the show with that. I will be coming live from the Omni Hotel tomorrow night at Seco, and I'll be signing books Thursday in the Weave booth. We're giving away the first 100. That will be from, I believe, 10 to 12 in the Weave booth on Friday in the exhibit hall at Seco, then also 4 to 5. I'm giving 6 hours of CE at Seco. I am taking the laser course at Seco. Thank you, Emily, for making me feel like I had to do that. So kind of a busy week. I'm actually speaking at a couple of dinners on Wednesday night and Thursday night because I didn't quite have enough to do. Golly, it's going to be a fantastic week. And then I'm going to wrap it up Sunday to go see Dr. Francis Bynum and Dr. Tanya Reynoldson, two fellow, I was born in West Tennessee, so and Tanya and I are from Camden. We can go see her. So tonight was about team building, and I hope you guys got a lot of great pearls on the team building. Tomorrow night is all about the numbers and the business and the metrics. So if you don't mind, if you're comfortable, share the link tomorrow night. I'll get it out there. And because tomorrow night's going to be filled with a lot of great information on the business. Go buy my book. Oh, yeah, it's about the book. Trying to launch the book. It's Monday night, 9:40 to the official launch dates in the morning. But I already actually have seen I'm already up to number 3. Tomorrow's the day. So, hey, go ahead. If you want to buy the book, go get it. Same thing. I would appreciate anybody's support on here. If you would get on your social media, share a link to my book and recommend it to your friends. I promise you that it's a good business book and it's a good relationship book. It's a good team building book. So Thank you to Becca for doing this. And then my wife has also been texting me and helping out a lot, as my wife always does. She's always got my back. And when you got a beautiful woman like that that's got your back, everything is possible. So everybody have a great evening, and I will see everybody tomorrow at 5 o'clock from the Omni Hotel, the Willow Meeting Room. Hey, come see me, come visit me. And goodbye from the Holiday Inn. By the way, they did a great job in Villa Rica, Georgia, and I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow night. Everybody have a great night.